Hi everyone, Paddy here. Just a quick one to let you know the audio is not going to be quite as crisp this time. We had to record over Skype as we had some issues, so the audio won't be as buttery smooth as you're used to, but I assure you, the chat, it is buttery smooth.
Oh, I should start.
That's the beginning. That's it. We're not cutting.
I just opened my flask and I was just like, almost. And then that first sip, and then we'll start it from here. People can hear that groovy lead in and just see sheer level of professionalism that comes with grade A
sausage is made.
As if it wasn't painfully obvious, you are listening to Other Humanities. My name is Paddy. I'm joined by CJ again, who has flubbed his lines, and joining us, as always, for E3.
There were no lines at that point.
Well, that's
but
what
I tell you what, there's a James Carter.
Oh.
Did your auto cue go? Is that the reason we're saying that you failed? Because your auto cue didn't turn on?
Hey, what?
There you go.
I don't know what's happening now.
It's Microsoft!
I'm a mixture of tired and energised, which is a strange place to be. But yes, Microsoft!
Microsoft, not much to say, let's move on.
How dare you?
That was a joke.
Did you see, I enjoyed this show, and I just got this DM on Twitter from Paddy in capitals, which read, I have thoughts! I don't know if that was related to the show, or if this was some sort of a period where he was like, I now feel like I'm comfortable to share.
Well, imagine if dogs have backpacks. Oh.
It's kind of disturbing you need to announce all caps on Twitter that you have thoughts. Isn't that kind of a given? Or are we literally talking this is a once-a-year occurrence?
Once a year. Like, yeah. It's important. It's like, you know, like when the groundhog, if he sees his shadow, if I have thoughts, it means that Microsoft will sell lots of machines.
All right, okay.
I think.
So
I don't know.
You haven't had any thoughts since Xbox 360 launch?
Zero thoughts.
I presumed all of your thoughts were bad thoughts, Pad, especially after having that chat about EA.
They're not all brilliant, but I've written notes. Listen to all my notes. Listen, all my notes I wrote.
Is that the entire pad, or is that every one of them filled with constant Microsoft thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm using my fancy dancy Bloodborne notebook, and it is a good 3.5 pages actually. There we go.
It's not the whole thing here, is it?
It's small writing though.
And it's probably not in beautiful colour with scented accompaniment.
No. Let me smell mine. Let me smell mine. It smells like a book.
I don't smell mine. I don't know what that smell is, but it is. I've written in green for this one. Green scented glitter gel pen, so I am on point. But in the corner, I've just written 44 in yellow, which means that's the episode number.
Yay!
That's the thing that we normally announce right at the start of the thing. Marvellous.
Tell you what, if this was a week ago, the colour of pen you'd chosen, the BBC would be trying to use to predict who was going to win the election. Because that's what passes for political commentary in this country, apparently.
No, we're using a red pen on this one, which means I believe it's a Labour gain.
I mean, yeah, literally, what colour sauce do you want on your bacon sandwich?
Blue sauce, please.
Blue sauce, please. Yeah, I'll take a pint of the blue stuff, which is what, raspberry? Is that still the colour we use for it?
Raspberry sorbet, please.
Let's talk games.
Before we talk games, can we talk about T-shirts?
Yeah, they were great.
Fuck it,
I made one. I got a piece of A4 and I wrote, I am ready to have the world's most powerful console written in A4 and sellotape a T-shirt. I didn't. It was a little bit strange, and there was that placard in the back which was shown today as well, which had lots of sort of buzzwords, which was weird.
I saw that. That was terrible. Like, ugh. But yeah,
Leave
those
it
I
at
did
5.
not. Those shirts. Whose idea was that?
Well,
What
somebody sent
would
on-
they think? Why would anyone see like let's make everyone wear a shirt with that on the back? No one's going to laugh at this, are they?
It's strange because somebody in the queue was saying that that before they let people in, they had to cheer at a certain volume before they let people in.
Oh,
just
fuck off!
Really, really weird.
I've always this is going to sound very conspiracy theory, right? But I've always been of the opinion that the last couple of years at Microsoft shows, people clap at weird times and they cheer at weird times where people normally wouldn't clap. That has just confirmed every suspicion I've ever had.
Well,
I'm
if
on
I'd
the
been
ball.
John
there,
didn't do that
I've got
today
the
with any
Reds-
weird hardware spec or anything.
I've got the red string out.
Well-
I've tied a thing between clapping and teraflops. It makes sense now.
If I was in there, me bleeding green, I would be like some sort of seal on acid. It just wouldn't stop. They're just clapping like.
Seal on acid, so you're in the new Wolfenstein game then?
Oh
Yeah. No, we're gonna survive.
no! Put your bingo cards away. We're not there yet.
No, and that isn't your favourite Seal song, is it?
No.
This is going way off the rails. Let's talk the
stage, because I reviewed the stage again. Very
Nice stage. I
very
thought nice
square,
stage, yeah.
very square
Stage
stage, very
review.
open. I thought a very Microsoft stage. Lots of individual platforms where they kind of
Yep.
dipped around back and forward. They always do this kind of multiple level thing. Thought the camera work throughout the show was very Microsoft. Like, sort of person would stand still and the camera would kind of pan around them as they were talking. You know, there's definitely some choreography put to this thing. I think. I think they don't just put someone on stage, have them talk, and point a camera at them. Like, there's definitely like, right, you're going to be on stage J, and then we'll cut up to stage B for the shoutcaster, and then we'll pan around to stage 17.
That's nice though that there's a degree of sort of choreography in theatre to what's going on.
It's cool. Like, it looks like they have a very definite look. Like Microsoft shows look like Microsoft shows. No one else looks like that.
Yeah.
Everyone else just has a stage and talks. Or in the case of EA, they just sort of stand there.
And hope for the best.
Yeah, but the intro was good. Very Tron, I thought. Very Tron. Like,
Well, the
ooh.
other thing about the Microsoft stage is obviously big lettering to make sure people know what show they're watching, saying Xbox. But also they had a massive. They're pitching it almost as if it's custom made 4K screen that they had behind them,
Yeah.
just to make sure everyone in the audience could see everything in 4K. Yeah.
I liked it. It's nice.
It was big telly.
So the big swizzly swooshy stuff happened. They were talking about frame rate leaps, where they went from OG Xbox to 360 to 1, and then to
The new
Yeah,
one.
Scorpio,
sort of scaling
as it
up the
was then.
resolution each time. Yeah.
yeah. And then there was the Scorpio visual reveal. And before we move on, what did you think to the actual look of the box?
It's a PS2.
Everybody said that.
It's just a PS2 with a few less ridges. It's a square box.
It reminds me a bit of what I expected. You know, when there was this time where like Panasonic and Sanyo could make their version of a console.
Yes.
And you got essentially like VCR/early DVD player looks to it. That's not actually a bad thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing at all. I think this is a nice step on from the Xbox One S. It's slightly smaller, which is baffling, but good, fair play to them. And it's very unobtrusive. It's a far cry from domed PS3 ridiculous machine.
Hey, don't you insult my George Foreman grill.
Oh, come on, it's daft. But yeah, unobtrusive. They've gone away from the kind of two-tone finish that both PS4 and Xbox One kind of lent on. And it's a very sleek, matte, not likely to attract fingerprint style box. Yeah, nice.
And tiny.
Yeah,
Well, they say tiny. They say it's the smallest Xbox ever. And, you know, let's be fair, not
it's a fairly high bar,
that
isn't it? Or
hard.
low bar, rather.
I mean, like...
Yeah, but you got to
you
say,
only,
like,
you only need one garage to put it in this time.
But in comparison to the S, which was smaller than the original, the original Xbox One, It's gone smaller than the S, which is incredible. I was watching some of the tech stuff, and they've been saying like there's no vents on the top now. They're all sort of flushing the air out of the sides. So if you did want to put something on top of it, or you wanted to stack them, you can.
For those who have multiple Xbox One X's.
No, they did that for the dev kits. Even though the dev kits resemble the Xbox One S a little more, for the devs that want to put multiple boxes sort of one on top of each other, they can do that. Yeah. Plus, I always think it sounds a little handier than, you know, why. I know that there are vents on top of most machines, but that's the place where the dust gets in.
Your main
like,
vent
easier.
shouldn't probably be there. Yeah.
Plus it does help the small Tower of Babel that, you know, everyone's building out of consoles in their house. You know, if it's flatter on top, it will fit in much nicer.
Sure. Yeah, as opposed to trying to balance something on top of an Xbox 360 or, as I say, a PS3, where that they have to kind of go on the top or stood on their side next to.
It's an incredible feat of engineering, though, when you think that the original Xbox has a power brick behind it, and the S and now the X have got you know, integrated power supplies as well, which is
is really and have slimmed down notably, because I think it's fairly safe to say the notion that the Xbox One, the original, not the OG Xbox, the Xbox One, back in 2013, they made it bigger to make sure they didn't run into heating problems.
Yeah,
they've now reduced it for the Slim. They knew they could do. Still got fans. Whereas this one, by the sounds of it, I guess I'm spoiling information here. Liquid cooling must be handling a lot of that to mean that they don't need the kind of vents they have on the original Xbox One, which is half the top of the console is slatted vents. So,
Digital Foundry said like when the machine was revealed to them, they kind of did sort of one of those old school sort of bait and switches, like, turn around, Richard, and they had like an original Xbox and Xbox One S, and he sort of turned around and then they lifted the original Xbox and it was just a shell, and they had like the X underneath, and he was like, what? That's smaller than that one. But they have said that they haven't actually heard it switched on, and the guy that's out at E3 has been kind of primed with the notion of like, see how loud the fan is, with it being like that small and stuff, and seeing how the cooling system goes. So that'll be interesting, because he was saying like I was wondering if because it is handling so much, as to whether it will be kind of as loud as the Pros, and apparently a lot of PS4s and PS4 Pros as well, the fan loudness sort of differs quite a bit. I mean, my PS4's away from my TV, so I don't know particularly, but I know the one's sort of generally pretty quiet, but I hadn't appreciated that that's the reason that the box was that size. So So what do we think of the name, the Xbox One X?
Can we just take a second just to let it sink in for a second that I was so right. I called that 100%. I am. So I think I just wrote in my book, I was right.
You're a unicorn, is what you're telling us.
Yes.
Who thought that was going to be the name? Only an absolute madman, surely.
The X1X.
Because I like Scorpio. I thought it was really good.
I think the production names are usually just cooler, aren't they? Like Neo, Morpheus, Scorpio, and that sort of stuff.
Morpheus is a much better name for VR than PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, I like the name. I think it's okay. I kind of like the acronym now is Xbox One X, which is now Xbox, which hurt my head a bit. Like, do they want me to get them confused still?
I should have really thought of that.
Yeah, it's XB's.
I mean, it's weird because obviously in their equivalent of the style guide, you don't capitalise the box. Although originally, obviously, it was all capitalised, but that has to be why they did it, right?
Yeah.
Well, Spencer was asked the question, like, why didn't they call it Scorpio? Because it seemed like Microsoft seemed to be a little more attached to Scorpio as things near to the end. And he says, like, I preferred Scorpio. He says, but this falls in line with the rest of sort of the line. Yeah. Plus, it's difficult to copyright Scorpio. you have to jump through many more hoops to do it than if you're just doing that. So I was like, yeah, I can.
I suppose there's also the question of, if you call it Scorpio, do you call it the Xbox One Scorpio to make sure people know it's still an Xbox One and compatible, or is it just Xbox Scorpio, which gets into Wii U territory of, you know,
Is
you
this an
need to
add-on
make
or a
it
separate
clear
thing?
to exactly.
Yeah.
You've got to make it clear to people, and Microsoft have gone hell for leather since Phil Spencer took over to make sure that they are as backwards compatible and forwards compatible as they can possibly be, and forwards compatible in quotation marks there, because obviously this is essentially backwards compatible. But the point is that you've got to know that it's Xbox One, because that removes the temptation to wonder about whether or not it's going to play certain games, or, you know, all of its games will be backwards or compatible with all the machines. So
there was an interesting thing, and there's an excellent interview with Tamor Hussain and Mike Mahadi.
Yes, I just watched that this afternoon.
Phil Spencer, which Tamor was asking some really, really probing questions, and to be fair, Spencer didn't duck them at all. Which was great to see. But I think Mike Mahadi says, since you came on board with Xbox, you've really been fixing things that were there from the other management. He was like, this feels like the first imprint of your own.
We fixed Xbox One. Here's what we're doing next.
Yeah. So
I saw that, and I'm sure I said it last year on this very show. It does feel like every time Phil Spencer starts talking about games, he makes me want to love Xbox more. I have, at this point, no intention of buying Xbox One X, but that half-hour interview, you watch him and you think, yeah, I want what you're doing to succeed. I like the attitude that he has towards gaming in general, and towards consoles, and towards the notion of there being this competition between them and Sony. His party line, if you like, is always, I want to give people the best games possible, and I want them to enjoy playing games. And the other thing he said in that interview was the metric by which he is measuring the success of Microsoft's gaming division, Xbox division, is how many people they have playing Xbox games on a monthly basis, not how many consoles they've sold. Easy for the person who can't crow about console sales to say, I don't care about console sales, but he always seems genuine when he's saying that. He actually just, and he's open about saying, we don't make money on consoles, we make money on games. So the more places I give you to play games, whether that's original Xbox One, whether it's Xbox One S, Xbox One X, or Windows 10, the more places I give people to play games, but the better it is for our company.
Didn't he say in that? He says it's actually more cost effective for us to just give you a box and then ignore it for a while, because and not do anything beyond that, because that's just the place, the portal where you kind of buy your games and we make our money through it. But I agree with you in that regard. I mean, they had Kareem Chowdhury come out and talk about a few of the specs, but in general they kind of got things out of the way quite quickly.
I don't know. It was 15
not
minutes.
Not quickly enough. Yeah,
it was 15. I timed
enough.
it because when we were talking about this before, I think you were saying it's going to be 5. I thought it'd be 10 to 15, and it was actually pretty much dead on 15 minutes. Yeah. I was watching the clock. I was like, when are they finished? When are they finished? And when the next bit came on, I took a note at the time, and yeah, it's 15 minutes.
You do remember the pro presentation, right?
Oh yeah, I do. Don't worry, I'm not forgotten that. It's still going.
This is not this is not a criticism of Microsoft per se.
No.
Sony used to do E3 presentations where they'd get 2/3 of the way through it and dedicate a good 10 minutes to graphs.
Really?
I remember the days where they pulled out PowerPoint graphs to show how well they were doing. They have ditched that now. Microsoft in general been getting better and better and better at this stuff. But I'm a man who loves my numbers. I'm very fond of anything that involves numbers, including the graphs, and I was getting to the point where I was thinking, this is too much now. For what E3 presentations are now, it felt like it was 5 minutes longer than it needed to be, given that the reason they gave Digital Foundry the exclusive was to get the hardware specs out there. That surely was a reason to say, just drop Digital Foundry as a reference at the beginning, say you've all seen on Digital Foundry what this, what the kind of key specifications are. Now we're going to show you what it can do. I know they've got to make a big deal about the hardware and the 4K and the everything else. It was a lot of numbers.
But saying that, as a numbers man, if you'd have had one of those T-shirts on and been sitting in that crowd, would you have been clapping at super sampling for 1080p screens?
No, I don't.
They
the numbers.
How loud can you clap and cheer?
That's.
I mean,
the numbers don't make a difference.
I'm now imagining this kind of comedy sketch where they cut to like James's sofa and he's doing the equivalent of like capital O underscore lowercase o, and they cut to Paddy's and Paddy's like capital O underscore lowercase o, and there's me just like colon capital D like.
Hovis method. Chuck some bread in it; it'll work.
But no, I mean numbers don't make. I get Microsoft's aim for this box, and I think the games they showed looked amazing in terms of just visuals and what the reason they're making this box. But Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U is one of the best looking things I have ever played.
Second best kart racer on the Wii U, though.
And
Here
it's not 4K, it's not, etc., etc., etc. That's on a low-powered machine, apparently. It's not about these numbers, it's about what people can do with them. So if I was a Microsoft hardware engineer, absolutely, I'd be whooping at these numbers because I'd be proud of what we did.
If you worked 3 years on that, you've got to weigh detect, Willie, your robo-dong.
Absolutely. But as someone in that audience who wants to see games and wants to know what this thing can do in terms of the games that are on it, those numbers mean nothing. Because if the developers can't make use of them, well, what difference does it make?
If Santa talks about all the presents that he's doing and how he's wrapped them and how he chose his paper, fine with that, Santa. Thanks very much.
I witnessed the most powerful Christmas sled ever.
Oh, I'm gonna write that on a T-shirt. So they did say that all accessories will work on the new machine, which is
good.
maybe given for some people, but nice to know. It would have been cool if 360 stuff sort of worked on Xbox One in that regard, like fight sticks and all that kind of gubbins. That they stated that the older games will run faster and better, and which is something they reiterated throughout the show. And then they burst into Forza 7 as their opening gambit.
Car.
It's
everyone's favourite game character. Car. I love Car. What's Car been up to since last year?
It's been 2 years since this Car.
Me and Laura both were like, hey, they're going to bring a car out. They're going to bring a car out. They're going to bring a car out.
Yeah,
Screen moves aside. Hey, everyone take a shot.
It's a car, yeah.
Well, it was a world's reveal, wasn't it?
Who's that for?
That Porsche.
Who's that fucking for?
Car nerds.
It's for fans of Forza Motorsport, because fans of Gran Turismo, they are gearheads. They are people who love cars. They read monthly magazines, go onto forums and talk about cars, possibly own cars, not like this one, obviously, because very few people do own cars like that, but that's who Forza Motorsport caters to. It's just one of those things, a bit like Madden and FIFA. If that's not your bag, it seems like they may as well have continued talking about teraflops. It really does, because it's just like...
here's a car.
Nice, they can reveal a car and they're getting to pitch it as if it's their own automotive show. But
can I read you what Laura said? Because I wrote this down.
Yeah.
Laura said, I don't care. Show me games. It's a car. It looks like an expensive dick car for people with tiny penises.
But the thing is...
That's a direct quote.
Sort of adding to what James says as well, that was... Nobody had seen that vehicle in the world before that reveal, which means that the Xbox show is going to get attention from motor press, which will attract attention towards the game and how beautiful it looks, and then you get in the knock-on effect of the best racing ever. Again, it's appealing to a certain portion of the market, but just like we were speaking about with your FIFAs and stuff, I prefer the more arcadey side of the Forza stuff with Horizon. That's much more my sort of thing, but these sales are important. And also, I mean, Turn 10 have put out three actual mainline Forza games, between Gran Turismo games. Is it?
Yeah.
It's 15 at this point.
But there was somebody on a podcast I watched the other day was saying that there's an importance here as well, because I think the previous games hadn't got Porsche, and it will mean that Gran Turismo can't have Porsche because there's like an 8-year deal that's been signed between Microsoft and Porsche. So it's which again, it's a nice level of boost and exclusivity for the title, but in the same way as kind of coming back to the Destiny stuff from the PlayStation stuff, it just means you're kind of withholding somebody from, you know, the other side of the console divide, which I don't particularly like.
See, here's the thing though. Here's what I thought about like the position of Forza here as the first one. Like, it didn't make a lot of sense to have it first, like, because you've talked about your hardware, you've talked about your machine, you've talked about what it can do. Cool, let's see it. Here's a car first, though. Look at the car.
But you've got your world reveal of that car.
I don't care.
I
want to see a video game. I don't want to see a car.
You don't, but this is the thing. You don't care.
No.
But it's going to get the attention of people outside of video games.
I get that.
Looking in on the console.
It has a place somewhere in the show, but maybe not first. Like, maybe you throw in your... Like, this traditionally would be the place, I don't know, you throw in, like, your gears. Like, this is the new machine. By the way, this is what it can do. And then you show it. Let's see what this monster can do. Like, show it.
Good quote.
Yeah, thanks. Like, tell me about the dynamic puddles that grow. That was cool, but you waited till after the car to tell me that. Tell me that first, then show me a car. Tell me about these dynamic puddles and rendering engines and stuff. Like, that looked cool. I was into that stuff. The car, to quote Weezer from the Buddy Holly song, I don't care about that. Move on.
Care about that.
It's a car that no one can buy.
I'm afraid.
It's a car.
So,
it's like Top Gear. Why watch Top Gear? It's cars you can't afford.
So, moving along from the actual car.
Cars are shit, aren't they?
I mean...
Are these your thoughts?
They always park in bus lanes when I'm trying to walk places, and you go to a crossing and you stand there and the light goes red and they just carry on. You're like, am I invisible? My head is bright orange. You can see me. You've gone straight across the crossing. Fuck off, car, you Audi.
I feel like we've slipped into your therapy session.
Thoughts. This is why Caps Lock was on.
Fucking hate cars.
So,
let's move on then.
Well, I just think in terms of the game, it's almost like if you'd had to bet what game they were going to show off this new system with first, the cliche is it's Gran Turismo for a PlayStation, it's Forza for an Xbox. It would. I think the problem is, as we now know, Gears of War and Halo, and as they'd said beforehand, actually, Gears of War and Halo are just not ready to be launching on this system. There's going to be a Gears of War 4 update, but you don't open your brand spanking new machine on last year's game up-resed. You just don't. You need something new. The problem is that to anyone who's not interested in Forza and isn't a gearhead in that way...
Hello.
Forza Motorsport 7 might as well be Forza Motorsport 1 to me, frankly. I've not played any of them. So they all do kind of look the same to me. That's not to discredit the improvement in graphics, the fact that people will be able to pick out stuff that previous games would not have been able to do that this one can, just from that trailer. But it's not... frankly, we'll get there. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is what I'd have opened on.
You want a bit more of a spangle. Like, here's the interesting thing as well. In that starting video they had, the Tron one, they showed off the Gears woman.
And Master Chief was in there twice, right at the beginning and right at the end.
Then the Mordor guy was there. Like, why are you here? Did they show Car? They showed Car, didn't they?
Yeah, Car was there.
Car was in there, yeah. So Car was, I mean, good branding. Car was there and Car turned up. Good, nice to see Car again. But yeah, like it's like, oh cool, there's going to be some Gears or some Halo tonight, and not getting ahead of ourselves, there wasn't.
But they'd already said that there wasn't going to be Gears and
But
Halo.
Put it in the intro then.
What, big flashing like Nick.
Put in Car, put in Bubsy, and maybe one of those new pirates. Done.
I will say as a non-gearhead and sort of being objective about what was there as well, that some of those vistas, like the sunrise and the rain and like the sunset and stuff, were absolutely beautiful. They're really, really gorgeous to look at. I was kind of swooning over the artistic visuals, if nothing else. But
No, it
let us
looked
move
pretty.
on.
It looked really pretty.
Paddy, stop talking about cars.
Oh,
Jeez.
You and your
stop.
cars.
Me and my cars,
Always-
Mr. Cars. That's what they call me.
Always. Oh, Wheel Smith there.
Put the metal thing on the floor. Way.
So then they went into Metro Exodus, which looked fantastic.
Yeah,
Really beautiful. I mean, maybe they
big
they
fan
put
of the
a bit-
Metro series. I really
Talk to
am.
me about that, because I fancy playing them for ages, and I know that they've been in like a million sales at about £6 for the pair of them on PS4 and Xbox One. And I was looking at the Redux today and thinking,
One of them turned up on Plus a while ago. I'm certain of it.
yeah, but not the kind of
One
new
must be,
gen,
not
super swanky
current gen
versions,
yeah.
because they worked.
Yeah, but you
They
start
worked
from the
pretty.
beginning.
They worked pretty hard on getting these up to scratch. It wasn't just a port and a tickle. There's quite a lot of technical achievement.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a port and a tickle.
Oh,
Said the sailor to the... No, sorry, stop.
talking like a true drunken laughing man.
So yeah, I really like Metro from the point of view of they're first-person shooters, but there's more nods towards the kind of in-depth you need to be looking at your compass and counting your bullets. It's not going to have a counter on the screen to tell you how many bullets are left in your gun type thing. So there's mechanics in there that you could say, oh well, you know, they're just there to make life more difficult for you, and why would you do that? This is a video game, it's supposed to be fantasy. But kind of they nod in the direction of the Stalker series. In fact, I believe some of the 4A games dev team came from those games, which are, from what I understand it, kind of Arma style. You need to be paying attention to what's going on. You can't just run down a corridor shooting everything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But what Metro did was go from like a Stalker style game, which is almost impenetrable to someone who's not willing to sit down and really kind of Far Cry 2 style put up with mechanics that are going to make life difficult for you intentionally. They brought some of that into what is much more like a kind of Call of Duty style corridor shooter. Never as scripted as that, but in fairly narrow environments, then opening out into bigger ones. It is going to be a linear path that you follow through a narrative-driven campaign. But so the key things that everyone knows about is you've got a gas mask with a filter on the front of it that you need to manage. If that gets broken, you won't be able to see as well, so you're going to have to change that. You need to be picking up filters to change out so that your oxygen is clean and you're not getting killed by the radiation. So the idea is that this is a post-apocalyptic world based on a book, as it happens, in which the surface is irradiated, and so people have retreated into the Russian subway system and sewer system to survive. So you're managing your air, you're pulling up a physical map in front of you and having to hold a lighter out to sort of be able to see what's on it, that kind of thing. A bit like, for anyone who's not played that but has played Far Cry 2, a bit like the way that in a vehicle you have to kind of stop and pull the map up and look at it to work out where you're going.
I knew that reminded me of something.
Yeah, that is that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, it puts a lot of that kind of UI stuff into the game, and throws mutated monsters and different factions of essentially. So it's Russia, but there's factions of communists and factions of fascists.
So it's Russia.
So it's Russia. And you're basically trying to play a story which tries to get you to understand what's going on, what led to the post-apocalypse, why there are all these mutated creatures around, and what's going on with all these dark ghost-like creatures that people see around the place. I really love the series for how hardcore is such a lazy term, but it actually catches everything.
No, I understand what you mean.
You know, it's not going to give you an easy ride, but it rewards you for being stealthy and for being the sort of person who does count your bullets and does make sure to reload your gun properly in between fights and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Because in this demo, it looked like there was a gun jam at a certain point.
Yeah, so that sort of thing. Yeah. Gun will jam. One of the best guns in the first game is essentially an air gun, but you have to pump it up. And so if you're not paying attention to that, then you'll mid-fight try to pull out that gun and go to use it.
That's really cool.
You'll see that your pressure meter is way down, and
then just kind of go.
You done screwed up, unfortunately, because that's your fault. You weren't paying attention, you know. And it is the best weapon because it's silent. It's one shot like a crossbow would be or something like that, you know. But the idea is you use it whilst you're trying to be silent and then swap to something. So the other thing that goes on in these games, sorry for anyone who's here for purely E3, but I think it's worth dwelling on why this game is actually really cool. That right as soon as Microsoft said we're going to show 42 games, we've only shown you Forza, here we go, Metro got put up because that's bizarre. But Phil Spencer actually addressed that in the GameSpot interview as well. So the other thing is the currency system. In theory, all the bullets you pick up are like reused bullets, so they've already been shot, so they're in a bad way, they're not as effective, they don't fly as fast, they don't hit as hard. But pristine new bullets have actually become the currency.
God, that's really cool.
So you can choose to fire that, and it does more damage, but you'll have a limited number of them. Or you don't fire them, you stick to using the old crappy ball bearings and bullets, and you save up your good bullets for spending on upgrades or spending on a new gun or whatever.
It's like a digital version of pay to win. You're literally shooting your money at the enemy until they die.
That's a really cool idea, though. Essentially, James, you should be the spokesperson for the Metro games. Because I picked up a copy today and I was looking at it was like £8 for the pair of them, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. Well, I've got sort of Wolfenstein to play, but I can do this. But this means I'm going to be running to the shop tomorrow, just like swing. That sounds really neat.
So what I'm really saying is, for a series of games that could be seen as Ukrainian knockoffs of Call of Duty, actually there's a lot more Half-Life in its blood and a lot more of like Eastern European hardcore shooters in its DNA as well, but it gives the sort of narrative that you'd expect from something that's based on a book. You know, there's a lot more depth there in terms of uncovering what's going on, and subtle choices to make that it's almost blink and you miss you're making a choice, because it's just about going over and talking to someone, and if you walk past them you'll never see that choice ever existed, but if you choose to stop and interact with something, it may change what happens in the story. So
is it sort of shooty Witcher? Because that's kind of a little bit what it sounds like. You know what I mean? Like it sounds a little left of centre, like European sort of quirky, dark.
So not in game.
It's not obvious.
Yeah, there's no mechanics in game necessarily, aside from having to make sure you're preparing for a battle, but not in the kind of Witcher's take on a Monster Hunter style.
Oh yeah, that was kind of just more of a broad stroke that I'm saying.
But I know what you mean in terms of taken from an outside view of Witcher is Eastern Europe's or Poland's version of a Dragon Age or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. It's that to your Call of Duties and your Battlefields. Yeah, that's I think fair to say. But really cool. I think the series is great. I've really liked it. There may be Kane and Rince episodes you can look up on the matter, and for them to pull this one out of the bag and for it to look the way it did, because when it started I was like, wow, this is Metro. I knew straight away what it was. It knew what it looked like. It got the atmosphere across, but there's a bit of, why are we showing this as 4K when you're in sewers and that kind of thing? Still tense and still cool to watch, but then they opened the door and it's just Yeah, that was incredible, wasn't it?
It looked
Pat,
well pretty.
what do you think?
I'm into it. I mean, you've just summed up the entire series very, very well there, James. Well done. But no, like it looks like for me, that's the sort of thing you want to start on, something with the grim and the gross, and then it has that sort of moment of opening the door and ooh, look at the pretty, like that first. Yeah, not car.
We'll forget car. I did
Train
like
first.
that the enemies looked sort of quite boggle-eyed, and that really disturbed me. And the stuff with the big monster creature kind of
The bear,
falling off the side of the ravine, and it just looked really quirky, but it looked really beautiful. And I presume that your home base for the game is the train.
Quite possibly, yes. That seems likely. It may well, because previously you've been using the subway to journey between areas, and when you came out of the subway, you had to put the gas mask on to protect yourself. There were times underground you had to as well, but mostly above ground was the danger area, and underground was this safer area. Whereas this looks like it's reversed that somewhat, but they're still going to throw a mutant bear at you every now and then just to keep you on your toes.
I wondered if you could miss that train, and as to whether kind of it would. You'd have to stay in that area for longer or find a different way around.
All of this looked quite scripted to me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they removed any HUD elements, which are fairly light anyway, but the fact that as the player was running away from the bear, they then turned back and knew exactly where the bear was going to be. They didn't have to pan and look around or whatever. They knew where it was. It looked like it was obviously a scripted, or at least was being played by someone who knew what was happening in the game. So it wouldn't surprise me if that getting on the train was scripted and there was no player interaction in that. But equally well, maybe you can miss the train because they certainly weren't slowing down for you.
No. But that looks good, and between that and what you've said about the first two, I'm interested in picking that up.
Yeah, I think it's a
especially
great series,
with it being as cheap as it is as well.
And Exodus isn't going to be coming anytime soon. So if you've got a current gen console or a PC or even an Xbox 360 or PS3, I'd recommend picking up at least one of those games and seeing what it's all about, because it's really cool, I think.
Well, I think one of the things that that's kind of nice if people are saving up for like a new machine like an X and stuff is that there's a lot of games like this and like Wolfenstein where the originals are sort of going for like really reasonable prices now, and if you are kind of trying to conserve your money and kind of get through to early November to buy a new machine, or you're saving for a Pro or whatever, there's kind of these little gems that aren't going to cost you too much money and are going to keep you occupied. That's pretty neat.
And plus, if you buy the Xbox One version, it will work on your new system as well. So
true. Woo.
Speaking of games that you can go back and play older versions of before
Siege, as I used to call it, like as a little pun on CJ. Although I did get some feedback like it's pronounced Segway. Why are you saying Siege? But that's
the sort of constructive feedback you were looking for.
Moving on. I don't know.
Assassin's Creed, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm excited about
Back
this.
to the beginning.
I have seen it in 4K today as well, and it looks nice. And they are using sort of a minor checkerboarding technique, but apparently it works. And it looks lovely. I am a big nerd for all things Egyptian and ancient Greece. So
and most things Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I'm specific about the Assassin's Creed that I like.
He likes the bad one. He just likes the bad one. No,
I like the first one.
Yeah.
And then I got bored very early of the second one. Didn't play any of the other Ezio stuff. Played a very tiny amount of Assassin's Creed 3 and moved on to other stuff. I played a bit of Black Flag again the other day, and that game starts very badly. I love Unity with all my heart and soul. Very Unity. I haven't played Syndicate, but we'll be playing the balls out of this. Although I do think it's funny that in the same way as America has a president called Trump, the lead character in this is called Bayek.
Yeah. A few, I think, a few comments about that.
That was yeah.
Fine. I'm sure that's an appropriate Egyptian name. They don't usually go for the player character being someone from history, but they've mentioned there may be one or two people popping up from real world history amongst this. So.
Oh, they always do, don't they? There's always some great man to kind of, or great woman to kind of bounce
this is
the plot
very
off of.
Specifically 49 BC they're talking about. So,
where's your history with Assassin's Creed then, James?
Played the first, like you, really enjoyed it. I thought Altair's story was good. I liked Ezio's story less because whilst everyone was saying, "Oh, Altair, just grim dark revenge story," Ezio's was just Spider-Man. That's literally who Ezio was. Someone killed my family, so I'm going to go off and be brought into the conflict, as it were. It was very sort of by the numbers superhero genesis or origin story. As far as I was concerned, I didn't think there was anything particularly interesting about Ezio himself until you got to later games. So I played 2 and enjoyed the mechanical improvements, but yeah.
I found the city boring in 2.
Yeah.
Whereas, in the first one, I mean, I'm not a religious
Acre
man.
and Damascus and whatnot.
Where there's something about Jerusalem, and you turning around that corner, and it's like, wow, this big widescreen sort of city and stuff. And I didn't feel
I still remember
the same
that,
way about
that
Italy.
moment where the panorama opens up and it just caused my jaw to hit the floor.
I think that's one of the reasons that I connected with Unity in that regard as well. That I just found Paris fascinating to climb and adventure in, and it's a thing with the city as a character, I guess, and
very much, yeah. And if you feel more affinity or more interest in the setting, that's going to stand you in good stead.
Even curiosity in that regard, that I just found I was getting like knots in my tummy about it, and like, I can't believe how beautiful.
I'm outnumbered on everything today, aren't I?
So
Christ, how? But Altair is so boring. He's so boring, and the entire power creep on that is he's good at using all the assassin tools, but he's not allowed because he's been naughty. You can't have your special glove. Get your special glove later. I preferred Ezio's way, where actually kind of he was training and he was learning as he was playing. And Ezio, bit of a prick. I like that. He was a bit of a cheeky prick.
But it was fairly standard. This guy's a cad and rich and gets away with it, and what happens when all that's pulled away from him? Well, he has to. It's a classic redemption arc for it's. It's
but
Green
Altair's
Lantern
arc
movie.
Altair's arc was I'm grumpy.
Yeah, good.
He had an arc. He had an arc. Oh wow, I'm out of it. So let's talk about Assassin's Creed Origins.
No, James was talking about his way through the system. Don't be rude.
I'm gonna go over here for a bit because
through.
If you say you don't like Black Flag, I'm gonna close Skype.
All right, here we go. Let's brace ourselves for this one. Played Brotherhood, played Revelations, and basically kind of stopped there. Kind of felt like the structure had become very staid by that point, or at least I'd become disenchanted with it. And each game seemed to be, what new mechanic can we throw into the game? And it just felt like increasingly everything I heard beyond that point was throwing ideas at a wall, seeing what stuck. Didn't matter if people actually liked it. It was going to stay in subsequent versions anyway. And so just didn't play anything aside from ended up with copies of 3 and Black Flag by virtue of PlayStation Plus and Games for Gold, and played an hour at the beginning of each of them and despised the opening hours of 3 and Black Flag so much I just turned them off and deleted them. Didn't want anything to do with them.
Hang on,
I thought they were
one second. Weep, whoop.
I thought they were atrocious examples of how to open a game where the point is explore a city, explore the world, No. We're going to tie you down. Cinematic opening. Here's your character. Do you like them? We don't care. This is who you're playing at. I thought very bad examples of how to introduce someone to an Assassin's Creed game.
Run after that bloke for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right then.
But he called him a shitbird.
No, Jack, take it back.
I was into it. He said shitbird, and I'm like, right, sold. I'm in.
The theatre opening from Assassin's Creed 3 particularly put me in a bad mood for about a week.
So did you go to Unity or Syndicate?
No, didn't try either of them. I know and apologise and doff my cap towards you for Unity. I'd had such a bad experience with the in-between games since the one I'd last played. I thought, no, you know what? Assassin's Creed for me needs to take a break, or I from it. And so they took a break and came back with this.
I was saying to Pad, the irony is that with Unity having struggles and bugs when it first launched and stuff, that apparently is now the best performing game on the PlayStation Pro, which is really kind of strange but nice and cool. So
it just shows it was literally optimization stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was ambitious.
It was the vast majority of the issues with the game, I guess. It needed literally a few nuts and bolts tightening here and there, and it probably wouldn't have run up against those issues. So
did this capture your imagination in the same way as, say, the first Assassin's Creed did?
The idea of it, and it being set a long time before any of the others, and being the origin of the assassins, and the setting, and the way that the place looked in the game, yeah, absolutely.
I thought the intro to it was really cool as well, with the walking out into the gladiatorial arena.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that side of it, absolutely. Thematically and in setting, yes. The gameplay I've seen of it, and admittedly I haven't had my hands on it, so I don't know. I saw a lot of Assassin's Creed still in there, which, given the idea seemed to be they were going away for an extra year, for 2 years in total, to rework, re-understand, and decide on what Assassin's Creed's going to be. It didn't look that different to me.
Paddy?
Well, yeah.
I mean, that is 2/3 of the title, though. So.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm. As we've discussed at length, I've burned out on Assassin's Creed at this point. Black Flag was my last one, and I adored Black Flag because it gave you a boat, and it was really, really fun. I really liked the boat. Boat. Give me more boat. We'll get there later. I kind of liked. I was enjoying what I was watching, and every now and again they'd show me something that would make me just angry to the pit of my soul. Why does the eagle behave like a fucking drone?
Oh, yeah.
The eagle can mark stuff. How does that even work? How does it
hover?
The eagle, yeah, it stops.
Are you aware of the thing called imagination?
No, fuck imagination. He should climb up a building and look with his eyes like a real boy.
World of pure imagination.
Didn't like that. I didn't like the magical arrow that he could direct in the air. Like that technology did not exist in 49 BC. I think if we check the history books,
it's mystical Egypt.
Bollocks is what it is.
We have a difference of opinion on something coming up as well, which we've discussed prior to this.
Let's talk about the giant snake in the room. Let's talk about the giant snake. Fuck off, giant snake.
I love the giant snake.
I'm angry at the giant snake.
I was glad from seeing the giant snake that they were going towards more of the mystical Egypt thing. Give me leopard men, give me giant snakes. The giant snake kind of made me go like, oh, hail dragon's dogma.
Oh, see, the other way, I saw the giant snake, and I just shouted "fuck off" at my television. Like, no, and this is weird. Like, this is really hypocritical, and I know this is going to sound really strange, but with Assassin's Creed, like, I am okay with the weird Minerva, Juno, God stuff. I'm fine with that, with the kind of proto-humans and the magical pieces of Eden and stuff. I'm all right with all that because they've spent like so many games building that stuff up, and I'm the guy that likes Future Desmond. Like, I genuinely like Future Desmond stuff. And then here's a giant snake now. Like, why? Why is there a giant? There's never been giant beasts in any of the other ones.
So is the issue for you that the aliens behind the scenes pulling the strings doesn't change what happened in human history? Whereas if we accept that mystical Egypt really was mystical and magical, that's not them taking you back to a historical location. it's fantasy then.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, I'm okay with the mythos they've crafted with this god stuff. But not with
scenes.
Because like with giant monsters, we've got archaeologists. We'd have found one by now, right? They don't mention it ever. Like, there's no giant griffins or giant snakes, or like the closest we get is like a whale.
The new.
Oh no, hang on. There was a kraken in like as a bonus side thing in Black Flag. I think you can go to a weird cavern and like a squid
what
tentacle
I'm saying
comes
is
out.
like new discoveries on the ancient Egypt, which they've discovered underneath what we thought was ancient Egypt, is leaning towards like far more of the mystical, magical stuff that we just can't even vaguely get near to prove. And there's been stuff within Egypt where they've gone into tombs and there's no sign of sort of charcoal on the roof from people wandering around with torches, and there's nothing on the walls. So it's been said that the Egyptians had a light source that we just didn't know anything about. And there's a huge tomb which was either burned to the ground or which had all these ancient scrolls in it and stuff, which would have led us towards stuff that we can't imagine, or things that we can't even vaguely understand, that we're trying to put together from the strange, the surreal, the alien, the mystical. And that's one of the fascinations for me about ancient Egypt, even before these new discoveries. So yeah, whilst I've heard that there's going to be a reason for the snake, and I'm wondering if maybe it's just something like a Vision Quest, or he's poisoned, or he's
we don't know the context.
If it's like a piece of Eden hologram, even I could probably live with that.
You see, I'm the other side of that. I want to see the leopard men. I want to see the monsters. I want to see that side of it, because I think that kind of funky glitter dirt underneath the fingernails to me will ignite it more than he is a man just walking in history that we now give.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what I think, because these aren't for me anymore.
Yeah,
so like I got what I wanted. Now you can have what you want.
Get in your car and drive.
Oh no!
I'm just imagining you watching a cartoon going like, "That's not what people look like."
Oh, wait till we get to Mario. Paddy's got something to say about New Donk City.
Oh my word! The horror.
So, at least some of the people who have and continue to enjoy the Assassin's Creed series, what I hear from them is what I felt, which is I like going back into history and exploring a city that I couldn't possibly have the ability to walk around today in the same state it was in then. So they actually like the historical fidelity aspect. But what you're saying, CJ, for you is you actually want, if they're going back to Origins and retooling the series, potentially you actually want them to lean into the urban legend, the historical legend, the myth. If they go to ancient Greece, you want griffins and...
Well, Greece is in it.
Yes, yeah, or people from Greece are certainly in it, yeah.
I mean, from my own sort of leanings, that when I was a kid, there was a newsagent down the road that would only stock sort of piles of DC comics, and you could... It depended what they got in the bundle, and you might not necessarily get
they just got
a story that tied into the next one and stuff. But I used to absolutely hammer through those. And at Christmas, I'd get the Marvel annuals and stuff. And going to the library and reading Tales of Egypt and Ancient Greece for me was essentially just an extension of superhero comics that were, I was the same with old fables as well. That just seemed like, monsters and powers and bravery and all that kind of stuff. And they really captured my imagination, and that led me into the fascination with the Ray Harryhausen stuff, which I've mentioned before is part of the reason why your Souls games and your Dragon's Dogmas and stuff really appeal to me, because there's that level of kind of history but stop motion and imagination and artistry, and that to me is something that I quite like to be surprised with.
Hypothetically, if they lean into gods and myths and monsters in this game, and then the next game's set, elsewhere, from now on going forward with the series, do you want them would you be happy if they lent into this game set in Scotland, so there is a quest to go and take down Nessie, for example? Is that what we're saying? Or,
Creed Scotland, Jesus Christ.
Yetis and
Oxassi Creed.
Yetis and werewolves and the like.
I just like people to sort of think beyond the norm, because whatever fits, whichever way they want to do it. But I quite like that touch of.
I mean, Egypt obviously, as much as perhaps anywhere but Greece and Rome, is the place that asks those questions more than almost anywhere else. But
I mean, I'd still be happy to walk within these places for exactly the reasons that you've said. I get fascinated with actually wandering through a time and a place, in the same way as with Infamous Second Son. Whilst a lot of people might not have clicked with that, the music of Seattle in the 90s was pretty special to me, and it was the equivalent of like wandering in a Gotham or a Metropolis, because this was a place that only existed in my imagination.
See Ryan Hayman's Kane Rince article for why Second Son and Seattle is very dear to him.
Also videos as well. The videos are very good.
But so we don't know the context for it. We don't know whether he's been poisoned and is hallucinating, whether this is some kind of thing to do with the fact that this is presumably still going to be someone inanimous playing a recreation of history. So there's whole questions there of that side of things, which they are not talking about yet. They said in the E3 Coliseum presentation, that was one of the questions that was asked. They're just not talking about what the modern day side to the story is, if there is one at all, and what its bearing on the game is. So it's perfectly possible that that's a combat test thrown at you by Abstergo for just there's any number of reasons why that might be in the game, but
it's
not
the God of War
in
tutorial.
history.
They've just stolen the God of War tutorial. Here's a giant snake, go.
Right.
But anyway, fact is, you're the Assassin's Creed fan out of the three of us. So if there's one of us likely to buy the game, it's you, and Ubisoft are better off pleasing you than either myself or Paddy anyway. So.
Well, I've done a hop, skip, and jump across a lot of stuff, and my tastes are different to other people's in that regard. Liking the ones that people don't, which seems to be a theme of my gaming life. I'm really excited for this. I'm up for it.
Worth saying, release date is looking a bit busy. Assassin's Creed Origins comes out the same day as Wolfenstein: The New Colossus and the same day as Mario Odyssey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine those late night launches?
No.
Try and work out what everyone's here for.
I'd put money on the fact one of them will move either because of a delay or because someone's going to blink, because I don't think all three of them want to come out on the same day. And frankly, actually, I don't think it'll be Assassin's Creed, because in terms of sales, that's the series that's the one to beat. Certainly out the gate in October, it would not surprise me if Wolfenstein ended up moving. And not because they need to push it back to March because they're running late, although that might happen. But I don't think anyone wants to be coming out on Assassin's Creed when it's their return from 2 years. I think this game's pretty much I hope this game's a given success and pleases everyone to the point where they can take the series forward rather than feeling like they need to put a pin in it again.
So next was PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
PUBG.
Yes. Where they brought on PlayerUnknown himself and gave him a name. So we now know that he's known.
PlayerUnknown Battle.
PlayerUnknown. This game's a big deal, and
it's a huge deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've heard a few folks that have just kind of shrugged at this, but it's been a roaring success.
Yeah.
It's been huge on Twitch, and it coming to consoles, I think is really cool. And whilst this isn't a system exclusive, I think it's a timed exclusive. But it's I've seen True Talent playing it on Twitch, and it is a good game. I'm not quite sure if it's my sort of game, but it's it's very tense, and the tension kicks in a lot of the time when there's no one around, because you're just running with pure paranoia, just running into houses trying to see if you can get weapons and kind of decent clothes and stuff, and then running around going like, was that a car? Is there anybody near that window? I'll hide behind this tree. I'll just get a little bit closer. So the stuff I've seen, it's pretty good, but it's been colossal. And with it coming to consoles this quickly, I think he's ace. But
I mean, really good move, like really, really good move getting this on consoles. I've watched a few streams of it myself recently, just because you get interested, don't you? Think, I'll watch one, because it's like you go on YouTube and it recommends 73 of them. You're like, well, I'll watch one then. All right, go on then. And it just looks like a hell of a laugh. Like, I don't know if it's the sort of thing that I would invest enough time in to not win, but like feel like I was getting something.
Yeah, that's always the question at multiplayer.
Yeah, because
games, isn't it?
especially multiplayer only games like this, like there's that worry that like the meta's already been worked out, so people know where to land and people know.
Yeah,
where to,
you need to resign
stuff.
yourself to 10 to 15 hours of
misery.
Well, a certain amount of
learning.
accepting failure and learning with an incredibly steep cliff ahead of you to try and scale.
Yeah.
I think
it looks like the kind of game I'd be bad at. Like, it looks exactly like the kind of game that I'd turn up and I'd be shot and I wouldn't be able to work out where it was from. Like, who shot me? Like when I tried Battlefield Hardline Beta a couple of years ago, when that appeared, and I walked out into the street and then I was dead, and I walked out into the street again, I died again, and I walked out into the street a third time and uninstalled the game.
Yeah. But isn't there a thing whereby, I mean, I don't know if I got this from like this video or if it's sort of in the PC version already, but where kind of you and a mate can sort of huddle up together and kind of try and get through it, and then
cry in a corner.
Yeah, and then
singles, duos, and fours. Yeah, you can do it as four as well.
Then if you do sort of get to the end, all of a sudden it's like, I suppose it's like that childlike thing of going like 1, 2, like going off to hide.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool that it's coming to consoles this quickly, and
a lot of people called it, but
I've seen different people have different ideas of where to land and what to do, and so it doesn't seem like there's any sort of one main way to do it, but it's one of those that, again, I've watched sort of a bit off on Twitch, and it becomes sort of quite captivating. You know, when you're eating your dinner and you kind of want to sort of part concentrate on something and part concentrate on forks and knives and plates and spoons. But it's kind of cool. And this on True Talent stream, every time there's a subscription, there's just this noise that goes up, and somebody asked him like, "What is that noise?" He was like, "That was the first time I won PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds." It's just like, just like this absolute sort of championish scream. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool, and it's coming to PS4 a bit later, I think. So
we got launch exclusives, Xbox One and Windows 10 exclusives, and then some of them were just listed as Xbox One enhanced.
Then we had world exclusives, didn't we?
Well, world premieres, but that doesn't speak to where the game's coming. Just the fact it was a new announcement of a new announcement.
This was a complicated show to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've kind of tried my best to make notes on what kind of exclusive. And of course, enhanced on Xbox One could just mean that on the X it runs higher resolution, slightly more stable. It doesn't actually mean there's any exclusive content necessarily coming, which is obviously where Sony are going. They're trying to tie up exclusive content rather than timed exclusivity, it sounds like. Whereas
Samor put this lexicon to Phil Spencer and he went, "Yeah, fair enough," which is kind of neat, because he was like, I thought
it was fairly clear.
Yeah.
It's just in the middle of a show, it's a lot to keep up with if you're not sat there pen and pad in hand like me, try to work it out, and then try to find the information afterwards as to whether it is coming elsewhere. It's not always something that those reporting on E3 focus on until they know themselves. So it's just a lot to kind of take in, and it was often just in the very brief screen that came up before the game. So,
but once you worked it out, like once you knew which ones to look for, it wasn't so bad. But like those first kind of 4 or 5 games, I'm like, well, what? Can I play this?
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
So next we had the kind of Starship Troopers meets Minecraft of Deep Rock Galactic, which seems to be dwarves with guns underground, shooting rocks and big underground spiders, and that looks a tremendous laugh.
Left for Dwarves.
That's really good. Yeah, that looks a tremendous laugh. I just think that would be pure hilarity. And if you're upgrading your dwarf and you're getting like bigger monsters or creepier monsters, the deeper that you get and stuff, 100% in on that. That looks great. And I hadn't seen anything of that game before the show. So it was like,
I'm pretty sure that was the first time it's been announced big.
But it's cool to have these kind of quirky bits where you just go, I fancy playing that.
I think this one is listed on Steam as well, so obviously it will be coming to PC, but launch exclusive on Xbox One as far as console goes. So, Minecraft meets Gears of War Horde mode, or any kind of Horde mode, really. Maybe you'll get time in between waves to kind of mine some ore and craft a few extra traps and upgrades and all sorts. Yeah, looks like fun for those with friends.
Yeah.
Paddy?
Multiplayer only. I'm not buying you. No, it looks hella fun. Like if that's got a single player mode, I'd play that definitely. I think multiplayer it relies on the squad. All these games rely on the squad.
Yeah. Sure. If you've got 3 or 4 friends and can regularly get together and play, why not?
Or if you want to buy it as well, because it's not just £30 for yourself; it's £30 for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it looks
look
neat,
like
though,
it might be a lower price than that.
Yeah, it doesn't look full retail, does it? I got
an
easier
purchase at that point.
I know. Yeah. I made the Left 4 Dwarf joke at the start, but it did remind me quite a lot of Left 4 Dead. That sort of waves of dudes, and you kind of move around, and more waves of dudes come, and Left 4 Dead's brilliant. And this just looked like more of that.
Especially if they lean into class-based system, whereby in Left 4 Dead it was who had which weapon, obviously. But in this, it could well be if there are classes or just weapons, you want to kind of stratify your approach so that the classic is you got the people with the shotguns kneeling down at the front, and then those with rifles behind able to pick out the ones at a distance. You want to kind of think about how you're gonna place yourselves and who's gonna what sort of abilities or weapons or whatever work together.
Although looking at the speed of it, it did appear to me to be more of, oh Jesus, oh Christ!
Yeah, panic-inducing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Much, yeah.
And also, that's the sort of game that would normally slip under the radar a bit. But every kind of sort of viewing I've seen on YouTube of people sort of watching the shows and stuff, everybody's eyes have lit up and kind of looked around at the friends and gone, "Oh yeah!" So if they can pitch that at the right price, I think that'd be kind of cool.
Part of that this year, because this year more than ever, but it's been getting increasingly so, is people are looking at these games now. The people running the shows seem to be looking at them in terms of how can we market this as esports, but people watching the shows are very much looking at it in terms of how can I stream this game, or if you're someone who watches streams, is this a game that my favourite streamer is going to be playing? And so something as chaotic as this is perfect for that, because those streamers who do get in parties of 4 people to play, why wouldn't this be on your list for at least a few weeks worth after it comes out of play? Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it would be one of those that would be really cool if it launched on like a Games with Gold or an Xbox Pass or something, where people had the opportunity to sort of play it that they wouldn't normally do, have some DLC in there that people could buy on top of it, and do like the equivalent of a Rocket League, and just have like shed loads of people playing and having a laugh with it, and build it forward. That seems like it'd be an amazing model for this.
So some way to get at least, even if it's just you get a half-hour demo of it, get people playing it, or at least make sure if it's going to be teams of 4, allow people to buy a 4-pack bundle for like half the price of what 4 games would cost or something. It's £20, make a 4 bundle £40, and encourage people to get their friends playing it.
I agree.
So now we've dealt with the hordes under the ground. let's talk about the hordes above the ground. See what I did.
Yeah, well played. State of Decay 2.
Right, CJ, I'm going to go just make a cup of tea and a bacon sandwich. You talk for 20 minutes about State of Decay 2. Go!
I really like the first game a lot on 360. Whilst I don't think it gave the greatest showing of itself here, I know from my experience of playing the game that it's something that I really enjoy, but it wasn't the most polished presentation of it, and I don't know if it's...
What makes you say that, CJ?
was that sarcastic, Jay?
No, I'm just inviting the conversation to see if your reasons for saying that are the same as my reasons for thinking that.
Please elaborate, if you will.
I think that there's been a lot of time and a lot of pressure put on the game to be the all singing, all dancing kind of AAA exclusive, whereas the original was kind of the little train that could. It was the game that within 48 hours made like $1 million or whatever it was, and the developers sort of pushed beyond issues with frame rate and tidied all those up within a fortnight, and kind of, I don't know, it was one of those real surprises when I first played it. It wasn't polished, but there was something within the atmosphere, the moments that it knew when to be quiet and when to throw panic at you, and there was an interesting back and forth between the two of those, because oftentimes the periods of quiet would be when you were at your most paranoid, would be when you were your most scared. There was a lot of jeopardy within the point where you lost a character. There were big moments where it rather than throwing things at you and going for jump scares, it would be happy to have something coming at you like from a distance, and you know that was maybe 5 minutes away, and there was this real sense of, oh my god, what do I do? And you start jostling around with kind of different scenarios, and the original was good. I still think that there's a degree of unpolished compared to the pressure that's been put on it and the bigger games, but it's a very ambitious game, I think, and the fact that they've now got, is it 4-player co-op, isn't there?
I think so,
time?
Yeah,
it's
like
4-player. It's going to be much more fun, and I think that when you've got those waves of baddies coming at you and stuff, it's going to go to sort of Left 4 Dead territories anyway, where you kind of like, oh my god, and it will possibly sort of push past the lack of polish. But if it's anything like the first one, there's a doozy of a game underneath there.
So the interesting thing is, of course, State of Decay came out at a time when early access and kind of slightly janky games that people give the benefit of the doubt because they're actually fun at their core, weren't the norm. So it was hey, isn't this supposed to be an MMO? What, why, when, how, where? Or at least a multiplayer game. But it had this word of mouth of, the frame rate's a bit rubbish. It's not as polished, but actually a lot of fun. And yet now State of Decay 2 comes out in an environment where those kind of games, the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, that's not the most beautifully animated, gorgeous looking kind of game. It's about the experience, and if you can get your game's aesthetics to 80% of the way towards a polished AAA game, and the gameplay is fun, people will let the other 20% go. So I was kind of surprised to see the backlash, but when I looked at it, I thought there's not much in the way of animations here. The characters look a little bit like, that kind of animation where the legs don't move in time with the distance the character's traveling.
MMO
so you
animation.
get this sliding, exactly. You get this kind of sliding look when someone's walking or running. Had a bit of that going on, that kind of thing. I think what does this game harm is it's not the same as, but people are comparing it to Days Gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is this, we're making The Last of Us, but in a biker, traditional zombie environment, but it's going to be all polished facial animations, polished narrative and flow, etc. And it won't be able to do what State of Decay can do, but on a show like E3 on a big screen, I don't think the comparisons do State of Decay any favors, because people who don't already know the word of mouth on State of Decay and how great that was and how much a lot of people enjoyed it are not going to give a pass to that side of things.
Because I think much in the original game was down to people like Chris Pratt, a video gamer as he was then, and Jim Sterling really jumping up and down about the game and going like, this is really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had champions. Brad Galloway, another one I seem to remember who was a big State of Decay fan. It had people championing it. And the second one, maybe State of Decay's had its time. Maybe people won't flock to it because they've got PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and games like it coming out every month on Steam. And maybe State of Decay 2 won't recapture what the first one had, but that's what we want to see if the devs can do. And knocking it for the visuals, which did bother me, I've got to say, versus some of the other games we saw, but knocking it for the visuals, well, it's not really the point of the game. So
Did you think the trailer was a bit long? Because I felt like they told me everything they needed to tell me halfway through the trailer, and it went on. Like, it was long. Was that?
Yeah, I agree.
It was very long, and I okay, we get it. And if the
fact 5
that,
minutes or so, I think, Rob.
Yeah, but like you say, with the fact that the animations and things were a little bit, they're not AAA quality.
No, they were a bit State of Decay.
Yeah, a bit State of Decay. Having to watch 5 minutes of that, and just watching essentially just raw gameplay, just with camera angles.
Sure, yeah, it wasn't.
I got everything I needed within the first 2 minutes. I didn't need to see 5 minutes of wooden-looking people swinging things that weren't getting hit. Like, it didn't.
Sure.
It didn't. It was not, like you say. It's not the sort of thing you should judge it on. But given that this is E3 and it's the grandest stage of them all, it didn't do it any favors for sure.
So we then had like a really strange opening and sort of bizarre looking game, the Darwin Project, which
so quickly has my hype meter gone from ooh to
Yeah, it was quite.
Was it when the man started shouting at you?
It was
it then?
Exactly at that point when that man started shouting. What's a shoutcaster even do? What is that? Am I old?
A shoutcaster is an evolutionary dead end, as far as I can tell. Sorry, was that too harsh?
Back in my day, it was something that used to drill through the mines.
You're among friends here, don't worry. I thought the little intro trailer with the kind of the cool guy, looking for like, oh, someone's coming to get me, or oh no, like that was really interesting. I thought, oh, this looks like it could be a good laugh. And then, no, it's an open world online esport. I just file it under another one in this show that's just I don't care.
Yeah.
This was one of those where the animations were really bizarre when they were running. It seemed like
running and jumping is
it seemed sort of quite wide-legged, but the players seemed to be moving faster than the animations were kind of on the legs,
like we talked about before.
Yeah. But I think it was more because it was looser in this regard and less human. It just looked weird, and I think this is going to be up against PlayerUnknown Battleground as well if it is doing that kind of Hunger Games thing.
Well, do you know what I think? I think the world does need more of. It does need more arena-based fighting shooting games with a wide cast of diverse, easily identifiable characters. I think the world needs a lot more of those.
I thought you were going to say with a wide car.
Oh my god! Okay, right. The Carwin project. I'd play that. We just invented Twisted Metal.
Right. Let's move on then to
the best-looking game of the show. I think
to unifying Minecraft, or almost unifying Minecraft with Jim Ryan. Unifying Minecraft. New 4K update for Minecraft with a new look to it that's there, which was seemingly really pretty, but the fact that people could have their own servers and Switch players could play with Xbox One players, could play with PC players, and I'd like opening things up like that. It's really kind of cool.
Textures look wrong. don't look right. It don't look right. Minecraft has a look, and I know that you can buy skin packs and you can change the colours of everything, but no, for me, like Minecraft is classic Minecraft. Like the cobblestone block looks like this, and anything that looks different, I don't like things that look different.
Well, you don't have to have it. It's an optional free update.
Super duper graphics. I like the lighting stuff. I like the fog stuff. You know, that will look great, but like, don't say, oh, it's 4K. It's Minecraft.
What did you think to the idea of unifying the service so people could kind of play with their friends on different stuff?
I don't like people on PS4, let alone anywhere else, so it's not really for me.
Exactly, but
it's cool. I don't know if they're gonna have to do some work to it so it will work across all platforms. Because I know, for example, you can play. On the PlayStation side of things anyway, you can play the Vita version and the PS3 version like at the same time, so you can have those linked up, but you can't link up the PS4 version with either of those two versions because the game worlds are bigger. Well, because it can handle more. The fact that you can say you can play on the Android tablet, or you can play on your phone, or you can play on this, that, the other, it makes me wonder, are they going to have to like limit the scope of the worlds that you can potentially go to, or update the engine to be able to stream and like, you know, run those levels better, to accompany the fact that you're going to have people on, you know, a big monstrous beast PC or an Xbox One X, and then also have someone playing on his tablet who can't, you know, see 400 blocks in the future. He can only see 50 blocks ahead. Like, you're going to have to make sure that works together. That's my only concern about it. Like, otherwise, brilliant idea. You know, get everyone together, fantastic.
Did you see Jim Ryan's response to why PlayStation didn't want to be a part of it on Eurogamer today? It was really strange.
Jim Ryan is really strange. Everything he said this week has been really odd.
It's just been... It was... I mean, I don't know if somebody can sort of pull it up, someone with a better PC than me can sort of pull it up and sort of read what he said, but it was something about...
Did he say that they don't think that Minecraft 4K is good value for their customers?
It would surprise me. This was all about, like, we know that most of the people that play it are young children. We've got to look out for the children. And Eurogamer said, well, Nintendo seemed fine with it.
The Nintendo line, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, well, that's their decision. And it just seemed really weird. Just, the man baffles me anyway, but it was very, very strange.
So Jim Ryan said to Eurogamer...
Hold on a minute. Almost ready for you. Almost ready for you. Almost there.
This is tense.
Yep. Carry on.
He said, we have a contract with the people who go online with us, that we look after them and they are within the PlayStation created universe. Exposing what in many cases are children to external influences we have no ability to manage or look after, something we have to think about very carefully. It's just... It's nonsense. I get that Minecraft Online is a different prospect, but people on PS4 can cross-play Street Fighter V with people on PC. I get you're not in their world, there's not someone they're ruining, but you're head-to-head with someone who's on a different platform. You can interact with someone who's on a different platform. Yeah, there's not the same creativity, etc., but Sony have found ways in the past to make sure that their players can play cross-platform with others.
Seems weird, but... I know. I thought the last that presented it was brilliant as well. She was double into it, she was dead proud of it, she was really professional, and I thought she was great. The lady from Mojang.
Mojang?
Like that confused me. It's Mo. I always called it Mojang.
No, Mojang.
Looking like it's Mojang, it doesn't sound right when people say like an animated GIF and you want to just punch them in their stupid face.
What you saying?
Get out of here with GIF.
What? I was just being classy.
GIF comes in a lemon.
Yeah, you say garage, I say garage. It's the opposite of it.
I don't say garage.
I've heard you say that. What's the
How dare you? Grass.
There is something that you say which you pronounce it with a G and it's a J, but it's not GIF. And we've had this conversation in the past. But moving on, apparently on a lot of live streams, there was a war cry from all of the gentlemen on the teams at Dragon Ball Fighters Z.
Fighters.
Yeah, I think they're going for Fighters. But yeah, it should be Fighter Z
unfortunate.
because obviously
That's-
Dragon Ball Z. But
Or Fighter Z.
Fighter is
Fighter
it's,
Z,
it's an
yeah.
unfortunate title, isn't it?
I don't know. It's Arc System Works, I believe, who do
the title might be the only unfortunate thing about it. I'm not a Dragon Ball fan. I just not for any reason other than I haven't been exposed to it. Really, I know what it is, but Arc System Works knocked it out of the park as far as I'm concerned with Guilty Gear Xrd, the 3 versions of that. It's one of the most stunning games I've seen, and I had literally been caught not 2 weeks ago saying completely different art style, but Injustice 2 is the first time since 2015's Guilty Gear that I've felt like a fighting game has wowed me in a similar way. And then I saw this trailer, and it's just like they are in a different league for me when it comes to visuals in a fighting game.
It looks fast as well, like crazy fast. And if you're playing into sort of that fan base as well, you take a look at the Evolution games, Dragon Ball Evolution. It's they suddenly look very very sort of slow and cumbersome in comparison to just the sheer madness that was on there. It was like salty bit.
Me and Laura were saying, you could probably freeze every second of that trailer and it would look like the anime. So we did, and it did.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I've actually seen more than one tweet saying this looks better than the anime ever did. Yeah. It's clearer and crisper, and they never managed to quite nail the animation like this, which is hyperbole, obviously. But I make absolutely no comment along those lines myself, not having seen the anime. But
James Carter, a resident anime expert.
It looked amazing, and when it the screens where it was clearly the in-game action, it pulled out to this kind of standard 2D. The backgrounds were just the amount of detail in that domed thing, whatever it is, just unbelievable.
I mean, this is the thing as well. Like, if you can make a video game of a show and have it look like the show, like not like a Barcelona, make it look like it should do. This is a lot of what I like about the South Park games, the new ones. They just look like the damn show.
That's the point. Yeah.
And this looks.
I've heard a few critics go like, "Oh, you went to Japan and this is all you brought back." But I've also heard a lot of people that just kind of started howling at the moon when this was there, and then other folks have gone, "Well, it's coming out on PS4 as well." It's like, it doesn't matter. This is like something that's really cool to see in the middle of a show that you're not expecting. That you just go, "Holy balls!" and a certain amount of people just go, "Oh my god!" And yet, if this was kind of given an announcement elsewhere at E3, at like not one of the major shows, it would go under the radar a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, it would have been Arc System Works fighting game fans who would have been rightly crowing about it, and no one else would notice. I can't remember the last time a Dragon Ball game appeared in a main E3 press conference, if it ever has. I may be misremembering something, but I can't think of it. And if it were the only thing that Phil Spencer brought back from Japan, which, by the way, it's not, because there's other games we're about to talk about. But even if it were, fine. Yeah, you picked a great one to show off at your show.
So we then had.
Can we then have a short break for Paddy to get himself a drink because he's going to choke?
If I may, my thoughts on the next game were. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, fluted armor, beautiful. MMORPG.
But it is Black Desert Online, I believe.
Just
it's
like Bart.
But it's one of the biggest games in the world, isn't it? Apparently.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, because I always see it as sort of adverts before like YouTube and Twitch, and just go, "Oh my god, that's really pretty." The lady on there is really pretty, wearing very pretty armor. And I heard that who was it? There was one reviewer at GameSpot, I think it was, and he was trying to review a new game. And his girlfriend was playing Black Desert in the background and sort of talking to her friend over headset, who was also playing like Black Desert with her. But yeah, it's a bigger deal, I think, than folks would realise who don't play that sort
if a
of
successful MMO comes to a console, yeah, that's notable. And the fact that my first thoughts about this game were this looks beautiful, and yeah, the combat looks like it might be a little MMO-ish, but the only thing that and the only thing I remember about now the game really is it's an MMO. Sorry, I'm not going to play it. And that's an awful frame of mind, but I don't play multiplayer a lot anyway. Playing an MMO single player, I know some MMOs tout themselves to be able to do that, but it's not really going to happen. You know, the point is...
Yeah, I've tried a few myself. You know, there's that one called Skyforge, is it, on the PS4 at the moment?
Yeah.
I had a go at that, and it's like, oh, you can play it on your own, and you get to that kind of 3 or 4 hours in, you're like, yeah, I'm done here.
Yeah.
I'm done. There's a, looked, like you say, it looked very pretty. Too pretty, I think. That sort of style of pretty person, elvish looking MMO type people. You know, there's a lot of those kind of MMOs out there like that.
And a load of them in YouTube adverts for games you've never heard of online. And
I just, they're not really, they're not the styling of them. I just don't like. You know, I need my boys to be grittier than that.
But isn't the kind
I'm
of
glad
design
I'm glad it exists. It's a personal preference thing more than anything.
But isn't the design of these Far Eastern MMOs that they are free, and then there's they get their money from other stuff. So yeah, a game that, I mean, it's been successful, so it must do its model pretty well. But I'd like a tickle into this for curiosity's sake more than anything, because like I say, I've seen those ads, and it looks lovely. I really like the art style,
and it looks right up your street to be.
I'm curious to see what it might do.
It's got an amazing character creator as well.
Yeah, they're very, very pretty ladies, it has to be said.
Yeah.
I remember seeing on Dual Shockers every now and again there'll be a post that goes up where it's like, oh, they're doing this armor or this class now, and I'm like, Christ, you really have nailed the character creator. That's insane.
Yeah, so, you can do anything. You know, you can make like a Bart Simpson with it. You know, you can really do anything. It's the only fact I know about the game is that the character creator is really, really good, because the best episode of Monster Factory that they ever made was about this one.
Oh right, okay.
Oh, just Google Just Like
out.
Bart. If you're listening, Just Like Bart. That's all you need to look for.
So we then went to The Last Night, which looked very Blade Runner, very flashback, very beautiful, and then suddenly the lookalike flashback had a backlash.
Within about 5 seconds on Twitter, someone pointed out this, which has further story to it afterwards. But
we are milkshake ducking at speeds hereby unbeknown. I witnessed the world's fastest milkshake duck.
I wasn't aware of that term until this morning.
So, the game. Did anyone see that trailer and not think, wow, this looks really cool? And 6 months before Blade Runner comes out, the sequel, a Blade Runner-esque game, Yellow Taxi at the end, Fifth Elements in there as well.
It might give me a bit of that. I mean, not just of Blade Runner itself, but the old PC Blade Runner game.
Yeah, exactly.
In the looks as well. But
I covered on Cane and Rinse this year.
Plug.
But
I like the look of what I saw.
It looked
reminded me a bit of Beneath the Steel Sky, like that sort of style. Like, I really like that. I sort of like my one comment I wrote on it was it looks rad as fucks, but with an X.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's cool
and,
art
and
style.
Pixel art in that way of this could never have been done back when pixel art was the standard. You know, the colouring, the lighting, the way it moves is just. Yeah, it just looked intriguing and drop dead gorgeous. I don't know if it's a kind of like adventure game or whether it's a bit more action than that. It looked quite sort of slow paced and atmospheric and all the buzzwords that I can throw at it.
So we then got the super unusual looking and frankly incredibly gorgeous The Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti.
Go on, my son.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that looked amazing.
Looks weird as hell, and
it's like,
I'm into it.
paper art style look to it slightly, quite flat characters. And then he kind of changes costume, runs out of the town onto this shimmering hillside, I guess, and pulls out his electric guitar, because why not?
It very broken, like visually looked very Broken Age, didn't it? Like that sort of art style.
I can see
yes,
that.
yeah,
good call, yeah. Did it surprise you when the guitar happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legitimately went...
Changed costume, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a bit more to it, and then went full prog rock space opera.
Very into it.
I did a little bit of digging on this, which I'll go into with the rundown of the indie titles in a bit. But the game is by a gentleman with the genius name of Johnny Galvatron.
Of course.
Originally, is that his birth name, or?
Oh, it has to be. It has to be related to the Transformer, I think. Originally doodled in his maths book at school, and before he became a game developer, he was the touring lead singer and guitarist in Australian band the Galvatrons.
Of course he was.
That's awesome. That's truly awesome that you break away from your band to become a game developer, and this is the game that you do. I'm really sold on this. It looks fantastic. And also another one of those games where it's nice to see it in a big conference, because I probably wouldn't have known about this unless there was a few journalists and a few reviews that were really shouting.
It would have required a lot of word of mouth to get people's attention, a lot of podcast coverage, and thank you Microsoft for putting this on.
Now I'm looking out for this, and that's because it looks like something I want to play. There's a level of enigma there that I don't quite get what I've seen, but I want to find that out.
You want
to
know more?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And you up for this? I don't know if it's.
Of course I'm up for this. This is my entire aesthetic.
Yeah.
Of course I'm up for this. I'm putting the cosplay together already.
And what a great trailer video that was. And wasn't it this one at the end where it says released when it's goddamn ready?
Coming when it's damn ready. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
A nice knowing touch for any indie dev to put on the end of their game, because this and The Last Night had no coming next year or whatever, because we've seen that, haven't we, so many times. I mean, Fez is kind of the poster child for this, but Cuphead as well, where we get all excited and forget that this is an indie dev. It's going to take them years to have the game ready. But this and The Last Night now just got a big shot in the arm in terms of people interested in it. It may not be that maybe we don't see the game until 2019, maybe even 2020. Who knows how far along it is? But I'll be looking out for it. Yeah, no doubt.
So a strange one next when they showed us Code Vein with a trailer that we'd already seen.
Prepare to dine.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen the trailer, so my notes on this are beautiful, 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 in much the same way Black Desert Hardline. But
what do you think about the art style of this thing? Because I have these are my only notes that I have about this. How did you think? Why do you think it's beautiful?
Preface this with, I haven't played a lot of belts and buckles and giant swords and JRPGs, so I get that this is leaning on, albeit claws and organic face masks and stuff like that. It's vampire related, obviously, but it just looked interesting to me. It looked cool. It looked futuristic vampire nonsense, but fun nonsense, and some, dare I say, Soulsian-ish boss fights look like they might be in there as well.
And it's by the
1 hour 51, first mention of Souls. Well done, everyone.
I get that Souls is not the be-all, end-all, but that's what I think of when I see a game that looks like this and seems to have snappy, impactful, dare I say, visceral combat. Because I need to get all the buzzwords in.
Also by the people that did sort of Monster Hunter-like God Eater.
Yes.
So as to whether it's like if it's a little from column A, a little from column B. Whilst I agree with Pad, there's something sort of quite sparkly and realistic about the armor, and then all of a sudden you've got sort of your traditional anime look for the characters. It still seems a bit jarring to me. But I'm curious to see more about it. But it's in a bit of a holding pattern with me, I'd say, at this point. I'm kind of neither in nor not, but I'd like to be swayed by it. But that will come with systems and more information and when it's ready to come out, I think.
See, for me, it's the style. For me, it puts me right off. Like, I do not like it. It's a very, very extreme anime. Like the kind that comes on, you're absolutely. Like, I'm skipping past this dark magic person story. Yeah, I'm not into this.
Black armor with glowing purple bits and all the bells and whistles. Yeah,
magic vampire power, and I can level up and
this is my life.
Go to my extreme form, and then I'm going to write some poetry. Like, it really, like, the style puts me off, and given that it's from, like, it's part of the God Eater pantheon, isn't it? It's part of that series, sort of.
It's the same developer, I don't think.
Yeah, like those games, I know CG, you love your Monster Hunters and this sort of thing. They're not for me, absolutely not for me at all. And the style it couldn't be more against what I like if it tried.
Can we
then? Is it trying?
Can we then hop, skip, jump, and scream joy at the water? I was going to say the moon, but this Sea of Thieves demo was absolutely superb. I thought last year's was good, but this was... Whoever wrote the script for this, the script was fantastic. I laughed out loud throughout it.
Should have been really annoying, shouldn't it? Should have been really annoying.
Absolutely
could have gone so wrong. And it didn't.
And
isn't that just rare? Isn't that just rare all over?
I grinned through this. I thought it celebrated the dorkier moments in the way that if you were playing the game, you would. Like when the guy kind of fired himself from the cannon the ship. That was fantastic, and they made a joke about that.
I don't know what bug or weird moment someone had where they ended up with that happening in the game, but the person who said keep that, double thumbs up. And even stuff like picks up a cannonball and makes a comment about how that should be too heavy to carry at this point.
That was
how incredibly portable. Like the commentary was good. Like it acknowledged, like it very really like self-aware. Like the commentary was, this is a video game.
Here's a video game about
here's all
pirates.
The cool bits. Here's a video game. Here's all the cool bits. We're going to show you all the cool bits. And like they even cut out a lot of the sort of the edited bits. Like, we're just going to show you fun bits. Boom, 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 boom. Fun bit, fun bit, fun bit, fun bit, fun bit, fun bit, fun bit. End. Like, really good. And that guy that ate the banana stem first, like, that's become a thing online now.
Has it really? I haven't seen that.
Griffin from Polygon has done that now.
Tried eating,
It's set the crunch as he bites into the end. You can feel it in your soul.
There was a certain sort of time splitters doofiness that I loved about it. It looked like, I know a lot of folks have sort of said, well, it's getting you four people together to form a crew and stuff. But there's an article in The Guardian about a hands-on time with it, and everybody who's played it has been glowing about it, and they've said that if you die in the game, you go to a ghost ship where there are people from other games who are kind of on this ghost ship as well for the time being. They were saying, like, you can talk within this lobby, and you can sort of meet people that you might want to sort of form a game with and stuff.
Smart idea. Yeah.
Cool. And I kind of like that. There's just something wonderfully modern about it, that we can sail all these worlds, we can sail the seven seas, we can be with our friends in this amazing sort of online environment. But there was something that was very almost N64, PS2, GameCube about it, which sort of harkens back to like a little degree of joy. And
it was very much core. Look at what these video games can do now. Yeah, definitely got a lot of that from it. And don't want to belabor the point, but I think it needs stating. This looks so much better than those first couple of times we saw it. It's clearly had a massive graphical overhaul in the past year. The water, the sky, and the light, and everything about it. It's still got the same style. It's still that cartoony, Monkey Island-y, if Monkey Island was being made now. Yeah. But just there's no reason the water in this game, looking like the sort of style it does, should shimmer and move the way this water does. But they've recognised this is a game where a lot of what you're doing is going to be spent on or in the water. Let's make sure that looks great. And it's clearly just had some massive upgrades and overhauls done to the way it looks.
With you saying about Monkey Island, there was something that wasn't in this bit that I read in the Guardian article, where they said you've actually got a button on your joypad for sea shanties, and you can you press this button and you'll bring out a squeeze box to be like, oh, I say this hasn't seen. Like, it's really weird when you're trying to like creep back like alongside the a mountain or a hill and stuff, and all of a sudden you just hear like, I say the 70.
I can't decide whether I want the other people in your party to just automatically start singing when you do, or whether they have to push the button to join in.
No, opt-in.
I could go either way.
Well, they've said as well
so when everyone's singing, you know that you're all wanting to do it. Like, it has to be opt-in.
See, I like the idea of push the button and you're just forcing everyone else to sing. They have no choice.
I think there was something else as well where they said that obviously if you've got your party around you, you can all hear one another talk, but you can only, the enemy can hear you when you're a certain distance to them.
All right.
So if you're like trying to creep up on somebody's boat and stuff, you have to keep quiet, all of you, while you get in there. And they just and with the advent of the button for the sea shanty, I can just imagine like sneaking behind somebody on the boat, and all of a sudden like I'll sail the sea, like all turn around and then just twatting them and stuff. And as more of them fall, and you can kind of get one of your people to just stand in the background and taunt them with songs.
Oh, there's some videos to be made where the camera pans around this complete mayhem scene whilst one person stood in the centre of it all playing a squeeze box.
Eating a banana by the stem.
Yeah.
So I really like this trailer. So what I liked about this one, it kind of felt like do you remember those first Little Big Planet trailers that came out like years ago? They were just nice, like just a nice, lovely voice leading you through it, showing you this is a fun bit, this is fun. Have a look at this. This is fun. This bit looks a little bit like Indiana Jones. Isn't that fun? Go on, have some of that. Look at the fun. And, like, all the dumb shit. Like, the jumping out, like, firing out of a cannon.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, very, very British sense of humour and...
Or the map. You see the way the maps, you can turn them round. And they, like, work in games. So you can kind of just hold them up and show people. Like, I watched a video. It was, like, a direct stream of... I think it was, again, the guys from Polygon playing, like, the McElroys. And Justin apparently was really, really into showing everybody his map and was just running around this thing, just sort of holding it in front of him. Like, look at my map. Look.
Well, they said that the riddles on the back, obviously, you can kind of figure them out yourself. But if one of the reasons that they're there or they're mindful of a nuance of it is that if somebody's playing it on stream, that the stream can try and figure out the puzzle together, which is neat. And that extends to if you've got a few folks sort of sitting with you while you're playing it on the couch or something. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
But this seems very much against the way modern games are going. I know we've got a big online stuff, but there's just something really genuine and sincere about this, which I think more and more people are kind of adhering to, and now folks know that the game plays really well as well with the folks that have had their hands on, because that was the worry as to whether there'd be enough to kind of sustain people. This looks like a belter.
Kind of surprised it's not coming till next year. I thought this was going to be a one where they'd announce it's September, October time it was coming, because it feels like it's been known about for an awfully long time. I mean, I think they said it might have even been early 2018, but just
but
a
on the
little
same coin, get it out when it's done. Like, get it out. Because imagine you go into this world and it just doesn't work.
All said with the caveat, absolutely. With the caveat,
it doesn't feel like a winter game, does it? It feels like something that might come out between April and June, when the sun's out and things are brightening up a touch. And
sun's out, fun's out.
Yeah, get your guns out, literally.
Sun's out, fun's out, guns out, puns out.
So we then went to.
I'm done. I'm over. I'm gonna go kill myself.
Fulbright's Tacoma is finally coming out with what seems to be a different art style to when we saw it last time?
So, first time this game was announced, since then the entire game has been binned and redone.
Really?
Cool.
Don't forget, this was announced at the same time as Firewatch, the same E3 show. Firewatch was on the PlayStation show, and Tacoma was on the Xbox One. And I was surprised how short the trailer was. It felt like it was about 15 seconds. I know it was more than that, but it felt really short. And I thought, given they'd reworked it, they might want to explain a bit more about what's going on. But I guess it just seems like they know the interest's there for people. It's coming out in 2 months. Look forward to it. And it makes no odds to me. I'll be there on 2nd of August. So
I'm buying that. 'Cause it's a delayed exclusive, so it'll be coming to the PS4 probably a little while
that's interesting, because I thought originally when it was announced it was exclusive in the same way Firewatch was. But apparently not. It definitely said launch exclusive. I presume it will be day and date with PC, just because that's how those sorts of games tend to go.
But yeah, up for that.
But yeah.
Paddy, anything else to add?
I got nothing on. I have no strong feeling on Tacoma. It's basically fly around the hologram people. Like
You're not a Gone Home fan?
It was okay. It didn't do as much for me as it did for everybody else. It was all right.
Please let me take my turn to beep boop.
Yeah, it was fine. Like it's all right. I'll probably give it a go, but I'm not going to be buying it. For day one, whatever. I'll play it when it turns 1+.
So we then went to Super Lucky's Tale, which seemed
I think most people thought, oh, Bubsy, oh, Conquer, oh no, it's Lucky's Tale.
Because it's a form of VR game, isn't it?
That's not Bubsy.
No.
I'm not familiar with Bubsy. I assumed this was Bubsy and they just renamed it for licensing reasons.
Yeah, no.
Okay, wow,
Lucky's
I'm wrong.
Tale VR game with a squirrel, yeah.
Because it's launching at £20, so it's not going to be a full price game. Reminding me a little bit in part, which kind of made me go, okay. Can't think of it. Klonoa, which is one of my favourite games ever.
This looked an awful lot like 3D Land, 3D World to me. Mostly 2D, but clearly 3D and some kind of moving around forward and backwards a little bit. It looks like a very beautiful but very straightforward platformer that if you can't do it as well as Nintendo, what are you doing?
I mean, I had the same thought. Like, I had a similar thought, given the reception that Yooka-Laylee got, that, it was hyped up for ages and ages and ages, it came out and kind of, I wouldn't say it was a letdown, but it wasn't quite what people were expecting.
I think for a lot of people it was a letdown, yeah.
Yeah, I think the reaction wasn't as kind of, this the second coming of 3D collecting games. Like, this comes out and I'm watching it thinking this just looks like an old platform game where you pick up all the things. Like, I've played that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
I think the upswing that it's got is that the RRP is £20, which means that websites will be doing it for probably just over 15. I'd say as it gets close to launch and maybe afterwards. And
so is this a sequel to Lucky's Tale, the VR game, or is this just we took the VR out and here's the game?
It must be that, because I didn't know I didn't know Lucky's Tale was a VR game. I
didn't when I first saw it. It's something that someone mentioned.
I only knew from Big Jeff's show.
Yeah, this is one for kids, I would say.
And did anyone else notice that the puffing garlic that was around looked exactly like the puffing garlics from Plants vs Zombies?
Oh, okay.
I did not.
Exactly. Like, you've stolen this from that game, haven't you? Type. Just bizarre and no reason it shouldn't. It's a cartoony, similar kind of aesthetic, but why is that a garlic and why does it look exactly like Plants vs Zombies?
IP theft. Next they'll be using car. Christ.
So, from car to Cub, we finally got a release date for Cuphead after all these years, and
another game that essentially got taken back to scratch and reworked.
It did. I mean, Microsoft threw a lot of money into it, and they they took it from just a boss rush game and sort of turned it into an actual sort of scrolling platformer, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to see this finally get a date on there, and I love that art style and that animation style so much.
It's so unique, isn't it? Like, it's so, like, there's nothing like in the video game space that even looks close, is there?
No.
Yeah. I'm surprised since it's been announced that nobody else has tried to like grift off that art style.
Muscle in almost, yeah.
Give it a year.
Well, yeah, but that, I mean, yeah, absolutely, CJ. That's the surprising thing. This has been known about for a good few years now. It's kind of surprising, given the rate at which all but an actual clone type game appears on mobile phones or whatever. Kind of surprising that we haven't seen the clone of this come out before it did.
But it's kind of nice that the answer that Microsoft have given as to why it's taken so long is like it's just two guys that are doing it. So we've let them do it. We've helped them with development, and I'd love it if this just smashed through the reviews, because I'd like to see a success story.
So I got hands on with this. 2015 E3 and E3 EGX. And it was a couple of the boss fights you could play. And they were pairing people up to play co-op, so I was paired with someone I didn't know because no friends. And it was tough, but in a really sort of, this is tough, great kind of way. You know, you need to be on the ball, you need precise jumping and timing, and you need to learn the boss to beat it. So if they can expand that into full game, frankly, I'd have been happy with the boss rush, but if they can expand it into a full game that's similar, that mixes that kind of almost a little bit shmup style, needing to dodge bullets and stuff, with tight platforming and shooting back. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if, like, where we've had, your mighty number 9 as like a cack-handed sort of attempt at sort of recreating the Mega Man legacy? Wouldn't it be kind of cool if all this time and all this craft has turned into a game which genuinely does have an echo of that sort of stuff, but with a genuine footprint of its own?
I mean, it comes to something where I'd play this game even if it was mechanically bereft or broken, just for the art style, and a bit like Ori and the Blind Forest, turns out that actually it's right on the money. So I hope it is what I felt like it was going to be when I played it nearly 2 years ago now.
Still haven't played Ori, and I hear so many good things about it.
Oh, same.
Wherever you can get it, get it. I think it's on half-price sale for like £8 on Steam at the moment. I don't know if it is on
it
Xbox
is on Xbox
as well.
Yeah.
It's likely to come on sale again during like Steam summer sales and stuff. But yeah, if you can get hold of the definitive edition of that, it's one of the best games I've played in the last few years.
I did cry when they revealed the first story, because that startup was just so beautiful. And I know a lot of people that have kind of done the same with the new announcement as well.
I had more than a couple of tears sitting behind my eyes, shall we say, with that trailer, and because I know what they did and what the story and themes of the first one were, and so I know the characters there. This isn't I've played it so therefore I get to. It's if you think the visual style is going to hit you hard, wait until you actually play it and get all of those emotions welling up.
So you were instilling me with more intrigue.
Yeah. So I've heard more than one person say, I haven't finished Ori because it's hard. I struggle with platformers. My timing, my hand-eye coordination is garbage. And I didn't find it anywhere close to as tough as a Meat Boy, which I managed to finish the main story of, or even a kind of traditional Mario game. They can be hard in places. That's not to say it's easy, but it's much more akin to like Rayman Origins or something. There's going to be tough spots, and there's bits of the game where you'll probably want to throw something out of a window, but it's not insurmountable, and it's absolutely worth sticking with. And you upgrade your character so you can get the extra bells and whistles to help you through it, double jump and stuff, and air dash and whatever. And for me, the story and the gorgeous artwork and music dragged me through any bits where I thought I'm not up to finishing this, because I wanted to get better at the game, and that's just exactly what a hard game should do. You should want to get good enough to see it through.
Cool. If only there was a sequel on the cards, which we shall talk about very soon indeed. But in the meantime,
you Cuphead.
If you are about to reintroduce a game which has been in development for a long time and has got a really big fan base from years gone by, and you are bringing that finally with a release date of November the 11th, how better to do it than Terry Crews? Crackdown 3.
Yeah.
The thing is, before we even get to the game, Terry Crews is one of my favourite people in the world.
He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. He's up there with, The Rock, as he's just so enthusiastic about everything he's in, and he's just wonderful.
Yeah, so I have seen him in The Expendables. I have seen adverts for, what's it called?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I was going to say 99 Nights and thought, that's not right. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I've seen him in Iron Flake.
And so he's got this persona, and he played up to it beautifully in this advert. But recently I was recording something for my Retrofit podcast, and it was about self-discipline and that kind of thing. And I'd ended up watching one of his videos where I expected his acting persona from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and from this intro to be his attitude towards self-discipline and motivation and, improving oneself and overcoming one's, flaws, etc. And absolutely not. The guy is... I shouldn't sound as surprised as I am. It's literally just because of his persona. The guy's an actor. Of course he's got a persona to live up to. Just the most considered... sensible, just attitude towards the difficulties of everyday life and how to overcome them that you could possibly hope on his YouTube channel, the Terry Crews YouTube channel. And so, yeah, he popped up at the beginning of this, big smile on my face. Just, it's Terry Crews. Why wouldn't I have a giant grin on my face and want to listen to what the guy's got to say? It's brilliant.
Yeah, proper giggling through this. And whilst they haven't shown the multiplayer with the destructible city and stuff, I really enjoyed Crackdown. I played to pieces. And I'm up for this, and I like Sumo Digital a lot. And yeah, it looks like a game I'll enjoy. And has Cruz put his voice to the game as well? Is his character in the game?
I hope so. But
yeah, that'd be a great signing if that's the case. Because I'd love to giggle like that through the game with.
He should be playing the head of the agency. It's the agency, it's called, right? He should be playing the head of the agency, yelling at you via microphone or whatever, or via some kind of communication during the entire game. He should be that. That makes sense, right? I've heard quite a bit of negativity to what was actually showed in terms of footage, but this is exactly what I thought Crackdown 3 was going to be.
Yeah.
I'll see now. Okay, I'll take that bait then.
I still don't understand it, so please.
So I've not being an Xbox man, I never played Crackdown 1 or 2, and everything I've heard about this one, Crackdown 3, is everything's gonna break. You're gonna break everything. Everything's gonna break. You're gonna shoot anything with a rocket. It's gonna break. It's all gonna break. Everything's gonna break with a cloud. It's all gonna break. And then they play the video, and it's like, this is just Saints Row with a bit more jumping at this point. I don't get that.
Saints Row was ripping off Crackdown at that point, and
Saints Row rips off of everything.
But they said from the start that it would be the multiplayer with the destructible city, because you can't really.
So that wasn't multiplayer.
No, that was the single player.
Yeah.
See, it didn't. Okay. See, I don't know. I watched it.
You can't
it didn't
really
look like
do
anything
a
special.
single player campaign with different missions if you're literally allowed to level the city. You've got nothing left to do.
I believe Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction let you do that.
But
You could
that's
stand
the
on
thing,
a building
isn't
and
it?
punch it until it vanished. It was great.
So Red Faction Guerrilla also got a lot of plaudits for that, and I played it and was like, it's impressive tech, but does it make the game better, or is it actually this is the good bit and everything else in the game's rubbish?
I mean, it'd be bonkers as fuck in multiplayer. That's great because you're just trying to get rid of the other players, and it's like, oh, you're hiding behind that skyscraper, are you? Well, I don't think so, sir.
Yeah, I didn't get from the trailer. I didn't get why it's good. It didn't.
Okay.
For me, as a new player who doesn't who's not familiar with it, Terry Crews, brilliant. Give me some Terry Crews. I love Terry Crews. His Old Spice adverts are the best. But this, to me, it just looked a bit like Saints Row. And I know that they all riff off each other these days. I know that, I understand that, but it just looked like a less, I don't know, like a less fun or less personality than Saints Row for me, because Saints Row is like king of open world muckabout games. Like, it's my absolute favourite for without any caveats. Like, it's my favourite. It looked like that with stuff taken out. I expected more explosion. Like a bridge got hit with a rocket in the trailer and it didn't break. It's like, that should have broken, right? I don't know. It didn't sing to me. But then, me being not familiar with the franchise, it wouldn't. 100%. But then maybe I'm the person that it should have done to. Like, they should have told me why it's good.
Yeah, they should have explained themselves sort of more. And apparently the multiplayer...
There was a giant snake. I didn't understand why the giant snake was there. I mean... But Car wasn't.
Cars.
I love Car.
Drawing a line through things. So we then got, in a minute and a half, we got 19 quick-fire indie games.
This was rough. I was trying to make notes and absolutely could not, and vowed to go back and watch this again later and didn't get around to it.
Whilst I did go through and made notes and found out about all of the games afterwards.
Cool.
Because I'm a good lad.
So I had the same problem as you, Paddy. I just ended up making ID at Xbox note and then filled it in later, and ended up finding an ID at Xbox reel that was even longer, that had nearly 30 games in, including a bunch that were shown separately and some other ones that weren't mentioned at all. So then had to go back and rewatch the actual one and take out the stuff, because we're just actually talking about what was shown at the show.
So we got,
I know almost nothing about any of them.
So we've got Osiris New Dawn, which is explore and survive in the far reaches of space with the open world multiplayer space survival simulation game.
Sci-fi shooter, innit?
Paladins Champions of the Realm, which is a free-to-play multiplayer hero shooter.
Wasn't actually shown at the show, that was in the longer video.
Okay.
Everyone take a shot. Boom.
Raiders of the Broken Planet, which is an online action-adventure game by Mercury Steam, who did Castlevania Lord of Shadows.
Bit of a post-apocalyptic shooter.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds again.
Wasn't shown in the video in the show.
Unruly Heroes, a 2D action platformer.
Looked a bit Rayman, a bit Ruby art.
Fortnite, Epic Games action building game.
Wasn't shown in the show.
Okay,
but they're talking about. That's not to criticise. I'm just pointing.
I clearly got the wrong video, but I've researched everything. So James Carter, fuck you and your
I'm making the point because some people might hear you say that and think I don't remember seeing that. Just
balls to them.
No, I'm trying to do a service for the listener, not undermine you. It's still legitimate to point out because the ID Xbox video that is now doing the rounds is that one you were talking about. Okay. Fortnite apparently coming very soon after having. I mean, that was brought to attention as I want to say as Cliff Bleszinski was leaving Epic. I want to say that was around the time it was being announced. It was years ago.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, that's when it was. Like I thought it was already out. Like Fortnite, I'd heard about it years ago.
And it was horde style shooter where you and your crew build your defenses and then the onslaught begins. I presume that's still what it is, and there's a lot more being shown at E3, but yeah, it's come back from nowhere and apparently ready to go, so fair play. I mean, Epic know how to do shooters, so
we've got Battle Right, which is a team arena brawler.
Yep.
Surviving Mars from the Bulgarian studio responsible for the Tropico games. And Omerta City of Gangsters, which rings a bell, but I don't know why.
Don't know anything about.
Right, this one's for you, Paddy. Robocraft. Online third-person vehicle combat game set in fictional areas of different planets where players construct robots and fight with others in battles. Made by Free Jam Games in Portsmouth. Indie Game of the Year 2014 and, in quotes,
I've heard of that.
One of Steam's most played games, apparently.
I've absolutely heard of that. I remember reading about that somewhere and seeing that they were from Portsmouth.
Probably a local paper, I imagine.
Yeah, because I buy papers. Yeah.
But I kind of look out for that. It sounds like fun. So.
Oh yeah, no. I've just done a quick Google, and I absolutely recognise this. Yeah, you could you build your thing up, and then you smash the other thing.
Oh, that's in your wheelhouse, definitely.
And it looks like some of them have wheels, like cars.
Yes, so it is in your wheelhouse.
Hey.
So we then got The Artful Escape, which we covered earlier. Yep. Astroneer, presumably now coming out of early access. No Man's Sky with multiplayer and vacuum cleaners. Observer, cyberpunk horror game developed by Bloober Team from Krakow in Poland, who were responsible for Layers of Fear.
Yeah, it looks very survival horror, but yeah.
We Happy Few, which I presume is coming out of early access and with a campaign in tow.
Yeah, sometime. I want to say they might have said it's been pushed back to 2018, but can't remember.
Fable Fortune, cards.
Card game.
Dunk Lords, Smash Brothers meets basketball from the developer of Spelunky. Lineup includes an old man powered by Mountain Dew, a bear, a robot, and a humanoid strawberry who attacks people with his flesh of his own kind.
So I would say it looks like NBA Jam, but it seems like parts of the court are spinning, and it's proper sort of future sport version or rollerball version of basketball by the looks of it.
I'm into it.
Yeah. Minion Masters, Forced to Duel, which is a fast-paced online battle game.
That's kind of a card game as well, where you play your cards, and it's a bit Clash Royale-ish, as I understand it, where you are actually playing cards rather than direct controlling what's going on, possibly.
Brawlout, a fighting game by Angry Mob Games.
That's a Smash Brothers style game.
The beautiful-looking Ooblets, Pokemon meets Animal Crossing by Glumberland, Rebecca Cordingley and Perplumps on Twitter, making the game in their pajamas apparently, and it's going to be published by Double Fine. But that looks wonderful.
Yeah, more was shown of that at the PC presentation as well, and it just looks.
It looks nice, doesn't it?
Farming,
I love the art style.
Village Creator, Creature Collection.
Yeah, they go into a lot more
pleasant,
they go into a lot more detail at the PC gaming show, which we're doing this year.
Yeah, I've got to watch that yet, but that's pretty cool. I'm glad there's more shown of that. But yeah, double up for that. I think it's going to be massive as well. Genuinely do. We then got the last night again. Black Desert Online was shown again. Hello Neighbor, stealth survival horror game by Russian indie studio Dynamic Pixels.
So I assumed this was going to be a multiplayer thing, but apparently you're defending against AI, and it is literally you batten down the hatches and see if you can hold off an AI invader.
Well, this is like a year old now. This has been on early access for a while.
Oh, right.
This has been out on the PC for a long time. I remember reading about this a while ago. And the AI basically learns by what you do. So you've got to... You think there's something going on in your neighbour's house. Like, you've got a reason to go in and, like, find out what he's doing. And, like, if you're going through the front door and he sees you and he kicks you out and time moves on a little bit and you try again. But if you go in the front door next time, maybe he'll have a trap set up there this time for you. And if you can get around the trap and he catches you in, maybe then he'll just lock the front door and you can go outside and sort of cut off the power to his things. But then if you do that, then next time you come and go, he'll be outside by there with the torch looking for you. So you've got going through a different window, or you can hide. It looks really, really fun.
So I misunderstood then. I thought from the little bit we saw, you were having to defend your house against a neighbour trying to get in. Okay,
infiltration. This is infiltration. This is kind of what's it remind me of? Like the way that you have to approach it, like a little bit like Batman Arkham City's Mr. Freeze fight.
Yep, yeah.
Where you try different stuff until you work out what works. And if you do a certain thing, he'll then defend against that next time. And, like, tricks will only generally work once unless you be clever about it. But like the fact that it's an AI and it learns about you as it plays, that's really cool.
Oh, that sounds pretty neat.
Hello, neighbour.
So we then got Path of Exile, a free-to-play action RPG by New Zealand's Grinding Gear Games. The gorgeous looking, and I wondered where this had gone as well, Ashen, open-world survival combat exploration game by E44, which looks a touch Souls.
They showed that properly after this sizzle roll, didn't they?
Yeah, we may as well talk about it now. There's an enemy in that crawls up over a ridge and then opens its chest up at you like it's a gaping dragon.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, gonna sue somebody.
I
like Ashen. I remembered it as the game with the people with no faces.
Yeah.
Because Laura was like, "What's this?" I went, "It's the no face game." She went, "No, it's not." And they turned around, and lo and behold, no faces. I don't understand that, but I'm sure there's a good reason. Probably.
I really like the voiceover. I remember being affected by the voiceover when it was shown a few years ago, but it was a wonderfully spoken sort of piece. I really liked it.
Yeah, it looks proper creepy and atmospheric in all the right ways.
So we've got Ark Survival Evolved, which I presume is coming out beta. A game called River Bond, which I couldn't find any details out about at all.
So it's a co-op adventure game. Isometric Minecraft is kind of how it looks, is best described as. But co-op adventure game. I couldn't find much information. I can't remember if this is one of the ones that actually appears on Steam now or not, but that's as much as I got. Bit of mining, bit of adventuring, bit of sword play by the look of it.
A rather nice looking game called Dark and Light, a sandbox MMORPG. Yeah. Which is very pretty indeed. Darwin Project we've covered earlier. Strange Brigade from the creators of Sniper Elite, a rip-roaring third-person 1930s adventure for 1 to 4 players full of peril, intrigue, and good old daring do. And Rebellion
this.
That's great.
Because Rebellion are the guys that do all the 2000 AD stuff now.
Yeah.
I've been following them on Twitter, and they announced this about a week or two ago. It looks great.
It looks really good.
Fuck your new 20th century Fox Monsters, Dark Monsters universe. Do it like this.
Yeah, it looks really good. I want to know more about this one. Shift, which I couldn't find any information out about at all.
So it's like a 2D side-scrolling platformer, but it looks like you have to use it's an air dash, but almost like Velocity-style teleport, where you have to teleport from enemy to enemy attacking them in order to stay off the ground. Okay. So you have to chain attacks together. It looks really cool. It's got what's a good game to pick, like Fury style sort of neonish aesthetic going on.
Okay.
Looked really cool, but the problem is if you call your game Shift, no one's going to be able to find it, because when you Google, you get everything but the game you're looking for.
So then we ended with Colonel Exiles, which is a MMORPG
Willies!
with Willy sliders. Yeah.
Willies! Willy physics! Willies!
No cars, all the Willies. Patrick Stardust rests.
They don't need cars because they have the big willies.
Exactly. Who needs a car when you've got a big floppy Conan dick?
So we then went into.
Sorry, I just choked on my drink.
It has that effect on people, yes.
Choking on Paddy's willy.
Hey!
So we then got more details about Ashen here. Life is Strange Before the Storm.
This is the Not by Don't Nod prequel that is coming way quicker.
Say that again. Sorry, that didn't track.
Don't Nod made Life is Strange, and before it made Remember Me.
Okay.
They are making a sequel. Sorry, go on.
Not by Don't Nod. I got double negatives. I got confused.
So Don't Nod is just the developer name.
Yeah.
They are making a sequel to Life is Strange. This is not it. This is a prequel made by someone else, who I can't remember off the top of my head.
And Ashley Birch has announced that she's not going to be voicing Chloe because of the SAG-AFTRA ongoing voice actor strike.
Which obviously affects games like Life is Strange more than perhaps other games, because they're so heavily reliant on their voice cast. So coming really quick.
You can't just get Nolan North to do it, can you? So
coming really quickly. I literally didn't know this was a game until about a week before E3, and then it's end of August. It's here.
So the next game, I laughed my way through and watched the trailer again the other day and laughed my way through again.
Me too.
Shadows of War looks amazing, and whilst you're essentially playing the straight man in that. I can't remember what was the massive orc's name in it.
Bruce.
It is. I didn't read it like that at first.
His name's Bruce.
The script is phenomenal. I giggled my way through all of that. This was a great showing. I know Microsoft had taken over the marketing for Shadows of War, and obviously like tying it to the release of the Xbox One X as well. But what a showing this was! What a trailer! That was
perfect.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I've been calling this thing Mordor because Middle-earth Shadow of War is a bit of a mouthful. Like these games are always going to be Mordor in my head to me.
Yeah, the same as Batman series as Arkham. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is Mordor. I love Bruce. He's my favourite person. I think of the entire week of shows. I think he might be my favourite bit.
Yeah.
Because he's like just dripping with personality. Like the facial animation on him. Dead good. Like it was certainly no slouch in the last game, but it's dead good. Like you can just see the sort of ripples of emotion across his face as he's kind of smirking and giggling and sort of sizing things up. The little finger pop at the end.
That was brilliant.
His finger went,
and the bit just before that where he's like, I think he's saying something about wanting to kill you and tear you apart. Don't really know. Sounds like my kind of bloke.
Yeah. And the fact he's called Bruce and he's clearly Australian. What the hell?
I hadn't connected that, but you're right. But I like that he looked colourful this time. The stuff that I didn't connect with in the previous one was very brown.
The drabness, yeah.
Yeah. See, here's what I like though, that the orcs, like, they still have, like, in the first game, like, you had so many different variations of orc. Like, you'd never see the same one twice on your Nemesis thing. Like, each one had its own facial issues, shall we say. Like, they were all ugly in their own cool way. These orcs look like they belong to the same, the same universe, but they looked different. Like, the faces of the orcs looked like a different race or a different breed of them this time. Maybe that was just me seeing new things, but like they didn't look like they were just taking the orcs from the last one and just thrown them forwards into another game. Like they've built new orcs.
I'm wondering with you kind of building up your own army in this regard, when you're going in and you're doing a big assault like that, if there's going to be almost like a Dynasty Warriors level of management where you're trying to do your own thing, but you can see Bruce is in trouble in the corner and like his life bar's like low, and you
that does happen. Yeah.
So the final battle that you were getting all your allies sorted out for in Shadows of Mordor, there was an aspect of that where you could kind of keep an eye on what each team was doing. And so, great. I hope they're leaning on that a bit more. I hope also the fact that you're now dominating these orcs and seem to be turning them not just into your slaves, but into your friends. They're now you're convincing them to join your side. I hope there is still an aspect where the game questions whether what you're doing is any better than what Sauron does.
Oh, totally, yeah.
They have to lean into that because essentially you are, albeit this time it looks like you're tweaking their perspective to get them on your side, you are essentially brainwashing people to join you. I mean, so there's that side.
You are colouring their armour in blue as well. I mean, it's not just brainwashing.
You're giving them fancy duds, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a degree of kind of, especially with Bruce, that it was just his own personality, and he wasn't really asked who he was fighting for.
Oh,
as long as he was fighting somebody. And
as long as someone gave him a sword, yeah.
Yeah, that was just so brilliantly done.
I love Bruce, and if you can give me just more, like, this is what I wanted out of this. Like, I wanted the orcs to have their own, more personalities, because like the best part about the last game was, meeting one that was like a poet and would speak to him in rhyme. Like, we're keeping him alive. Like, I'm going to intentionally die a few times and let him stay strong and, or bring him to my side. He's not going anywhere. Like, my favourite one from the last game was there was a guy called Ronk who flees, and he'd turn up, look at you, go ah, and run away every single time. And he was scared of everything. It was incredible.
This has actually made me want to go back to Shadow of Mordor and kind of give it another go, if anything, because I really loved what I saw here, but most of that wasn't sort of based around the lead character, the po-faced lead character. It was all of these
everyone around
surrounding him. Yeah,
it seems like
in the first game, the very first moment in the first game, like there's the relief and the satisfaction and like the pure sense of accomplishment when you finally take out fucking Scoth Eagle Eye, who had been chasing me for half the goddamn game. So a lucky shot early on in the game, and he was this crossbow prick, had a poison crossbow, and he'd turn up, he'd shoot me, usually while I was fighting someone else, laugh at me, and leave.
Before you had a chance to do anything, yeah, definitely.
Oh my god, whenever I'd kill him, the execution would be the wrong one, so we'd just kind of stab him in the chest like, he's not dead. Why isn't... Come on, cut his head off. When I finally got his head, I screamed. I was so happy. Like, I got him!
That was absolutely the great stuff from that first game. The Nemesis system forcing you to build relationships with your enemies, essentially, your antagonists. And it made them more memorable than just, this is Orc type A with a sword, this is Orc type B with a hatchet or whatever. And the issues I had with the first game were all you've just stolen this structure from Assassin's Creed and I'm just ticking off icons on a map. Because I was at that point, and still am really, very much not able to look past that sort of stuff. And the Nemesis system did a great job of distracting me from what was a fairly cookie cutter. We've taken the Arkham combat, we've taken the Assassin's Creed structure, we've, piecing everything together. And I hope this trailer shows that they are leaning into what they did best, which was the Nemesis system, and giving you characters that make you smile and just make you want to be around, even if they are the bad guys.
I'm really surprised that nobody has done anything with the Nemesis system beyond...
It's bizarre, isn't it? That was the one thing that everyone said was, well, this Nemesis system's going to be in every game going. And even Mad Max didn't use the Nemesis system.
Probably quite hard, though, isn't it? Like, I imagine it's not as simple as, let's do this, and in 3 months it's working. Like, I'd imagine, it's the level of detail, like, the amount of variation they've got in there. Like, I'm not surprised we haven't seen it in a big title. I am surprised we've not seen an indie do the same thing.
So, Paddy, you day one with this, then?
Oh, of course I am. Like, I regret not getting day one on the original Mordor, because I picked it up pretty cheap, like, later on, and it...
Yeah, you picked it up when you came here.
It was right over Christmas, yeah. I played a little bit before Christmas, and then we just dug in like it was my January game that year, and I just kind of ate it alive. Like, I wanted to reinstall it after watching this, like, after some of this stuff this week. Like, I want to play that again. It was so good. But yeah, I want to like the fact that you can now, with the orcs and the new one, you can hack off limbs, because you couldn't do that before. Like, you'd hack bits off, but like they'll come back with like a metal leg. The one that they showed in the trailer,
or another arm stitched on in place. Yeah.
Push crimp the machine. I want to be your friend, Push Crimp the Machine.
But it's his friends that turned him into the machine.
Oh! Push Crimp the Machine! Come on, son!
So are you getting this, James?
Yes, but if reviews and word of mouth is core that Nemesis system, it's a bit funny, but they haven't changed anything else, I'll probably have some reservations, because if I'm going to pick a game that plays combat-wise pretty much like Arkham games and apes in Assassin's Creed, then I'll probably end up playing Spider-Man. I don't really want to ruin anything between now and then.
Well, let me help sell you then. I watched a little thing afterwards. I think it was on Jeff's show. You can get on a Caragor, one of those cat dog things. The Caragor can now climb just as good as you can.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. And Jeff, can we say Jeff's show was absolutely belting again this year? I love that man to pieces. Jeff is E3. I couldn't watch anything other than Big Jeff on E3, because the moment where he says hello, it's just like, right, Jeff, what surprises have you got for me?
Yeah, no, it's been great.
So James, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
We've kind of covered it. I think it was great they had live piano accompaniment. I heard someone say it was a live piano introduction, but I got the impression that was playing all the way through.
Yeah.
And it certainly was playing again at the end.
I saw someone say a man was playing it on an original Xbox One.
Well, it's an interesting you should say that. No, go on, James.
It obviously looks beautiful, and it pulls at heartstrings with the character walking out and comforting the owl towards the end. But I don't know how that plays to someone who hasn't played the first game. Someone who's played the first game, it had me welling up.
Ooh,
in that way that people talk about Up, where the first 5 minutes, it's just knocks you for six. I got that from this, and I thought, how can a game pull this out of me in a 1 minute trailer? Of course it can, because the first one is just all of that. You know, when you see a still of it or a trailer for it, and you think, how can a game look like that? Clearly, when I'm playing it, it won't look like that. It does. And then people assume, well, okay, if it looks like that, it must be a really simple platformer. You know, there's not going to be anything fancy to it. It's not. It's a proper Metroidvania-style platformer where you're traversing a world with different zones. You're getting different abilities. It's tough in spots, but it rewards you for that. And the payoff is, for me, like 90% emotional. And so watching this trailer was just like, yeah, ready to be devastated all over again.
You've got me interested in the first one, 100%, especially.
I can't recommend it highly enough. I really can't. Unless you're the sort of person who just does not like platformers, definitely play
What
Ori
about
and the
if
Blind.
I don't like feelings?
If you don't like feelings, sure. Maybe not, but...
I don't expect a game to make me feel anything.
So
Dead inside.
Right from the opening, Ori and the Blind Forest, if you are the sort of person who does feel feelings and like feelings, it will get you. And I can't recommend it highly enough for the way it looks, the way it sounds, and the way it plays. And so, no release date for this, because Blind Forest took a while to come out after it was first announced. I expect this one will, and yeah, take your time. It's coming. That's all I need to know. All in. No doubt about it. And this one is a Microsoft exclusive, so Windows 10 and Xbox One are going to be the places to go for it. Although Blind Forest did come to Steam, so I don't know. It might be on Steam as well.
So we then got the amazing, beautiful, thank you very much, announcement of original Xbox backwards compatibility, which was just ace. And then they showed Crimson Skies, and everybody went bonkers. And somebody was saying the other day that Microsoft, I mean, obviously with the previous backwards compatibility stuff, all that's been done in house as getting things, you know, up to speed, and the developers just need to say that they want the game made available. Yeah. And obviously it's going to make money for those developers where the game wouldn't normally be making money.
Yeah, extra sales potentially, yeah.
I'd love to see Burnout 3 on there. I'd really love that. They've said the original discs will still work, but there'll be stuff on the store. I'd love to see stuff that we never got over here. I'd love to see From Software's Metal. Was it Metal something
Metal
Chaos?
Chaos.
Yeah, that'd just be amazing. But it's nice to see that through line from original Xbox right through to, you know, the modern day stuff, and I like backwards compatibility. I think it's cool. I think it's
great. But yeah, I agree. I think it's good to have, even if it's just from a PR point of view. I think it's good to have, even if only 2% of players spend any time doing it, or what the statistic was 2% of time on an Xbox was backward compatibility. I think that's fine. Cynically, from a business point of view, if people are more excited about it than actually then go on to play it, that probably still means people go and buy the game, even if they just fire it up, play it for half an hour, and that's them done because they wanted the nostalgia hit. That still makes fiscal sense because Microsoft still sell the game. That's a cynical way to look at it. I like to think that people genuinely do want backwards compatibility, genuinely will fire up their old games, and or buy the downloadable version. And I'd like to think that Microsoft are doing this because they want Xbox One to be the one box you need to play Xbox games. They made a point that they've already got 385 titles on there from 360. Phil Spencer did make the point that obviously they want to get as many titles on as possible, but with Xbox original games, some of the companies who published it and therefore would have to give their say-so for them to go on just don't exist anymore. So
wouldn't it be nice to get something like Silent Hill 2, which was a good version on original Xbox?
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you remember how that was stuffed up when they took it into the HD versions?
HD collection, yeah.
That'd be great. I mean, there's some really good games there, and like there were two things that happened after this announcement which I really liked. The first one, I'd sort of a peripherals company had gone, can we remake the Duke? And Microsoft went, yeah, all right then, which you'd think was that in the spirit of things is great. And then the other day they had an interview with is it Albert somebody or other on the development team.
Yeah.
And they said that it's now possible to do a LAN party linking the original Xbox, the Xbox 360, and an Xbox One, and play a LAN party on the original Xbox games. And in the interview they said, what's the point of that? And this guy says, there's no point, I just thought it'd be rad. That's the best thing in the world. And I think, whilst we can see these people as kind of business people that want our money, there's something joyous about that, which I just think is great.
I presume you're talking about Albert Pinello, who was also on the Project Scorpio chat with Major Nelson that was done at E3 Coliseum. Jeff Keighley's
catch up with that.
It was a good chat, yeah. They're obviously talking about, so Major Nelson's been with Microsoft since 2003, Albert Pinello since 2000, I think he said, and just talking about, obviously, for two guys who've seen the Xbox develop and remember the days when it was just a group of people wanting to put together essentially a PC as console and make some rad stuff. It's a nice chat about what Scorpio means to them and what it means for developers. And they get out, I'm not going to be able to remember names, someone from the Coalition, who are the Gears of War team, and someone else who I'm forgetting. But yeah, they get devs out as well to talk about what the system's all about. And not in a, as is often associated with Major Nelson, kind of very PR-ish type way. This is just them sitting down, chatting, basically, which is just lovely.
What do you think of it, Pat?
Oh, backwards compatibility is cool. It still annoys me a bit that Sony's options are bad. PlayStation Now is wank.
And that their response to that is who wants backwards compatibility. Yeah, it's just...
I bought PS1 games on Sunday.
Yeah.
I picked up a copy.
Wouldn't it be kind of cool to be able to stick that into your PS4 and just go, cool?
Of course it plays, yeah.
For me, it's not the end of the world issue for me because I still have all my machines. I don't throw my shit away because it's always all plugged in as well. It's not a matter of but I've got to get the cables out. No, it's all plugged in. All of it is. I made great lengths to make sure it was all plugged in. So if I want to pop in this copy of Chase the Express that I picked up on Sunday and play it tomorrow, I can.
Yeah. But a lot of the new televisions as well aren't having SCART sockets and things like that now. So I think it's important to have that through line.
It's just cool. I don't know. I'd like it, but saying that, I think because it's probably easier to do on the Xbox because it was always designed as a sort of PC in a box, wasn't it? Whereas PlayStation hardware's always been a bit more bespoke, hasn't it? With cell processors and all that nonsense. The reason that the PS3 eventually, when they took the chip out, can't do backwards compatibility on PS2 is because it needs a certain chip. You can't just emulate it. it needs a chip to work properly, which is why those original launch PS3s were so valuable, because they could do all the backwards compatibility. You know, whereas PS1 games are easier to emulate. You can do it on a Vita, no problem. You can do it on the every PS3 will play PS1 games, but they won't play PS2 games because the hardware was more bespoke and a bit harder to emulate. Perhaps
I think the Xbox 360 struggled with because it wasn't perfectly backwards compatible between
there were definitely
Xbox
games
One
that had
and
issues, yeah.
360. So they're obviously ironing that out. And plus, you know, with the extra power on 360 stuff, a lot of screen tearing's gone. A lot of sort of lip syncings are much better. Loading times are better, and it essentially uses that extra grunt to provide like a massive V-sync in the background, which is I just think it's really neat. It was a nice announcement, especially in the wake of Jim Ryan and Ars Technica. I lean into the arse there. Sort of coming out with those just shit arse stats. Just go away.
Just one more tick on the Jim Ryan. What are you on this week, Sheep?
It's like, ugh. So there was then the announcement that there'd be free 4K updates for the Microsoft games, and they showed that, you know, lots of games going up and down for other stuff that was going to get free stuff, and Witcher 3 was one of those, which leaning into that, that there was an article last week as to why the Xbox One X is good for PS4 Pro owners, that, like, you know, more attention's going to be put from companies to make sure there's maybe more than a few kind of extra shadows in the new version, or bits of smoke and stuff, and that the older games, the regular PS4 and One games are going to get, you know, better assets, and that's pretty neat. I like that. Let me see. So we then got November 7th and $499 or $449.99 English pounds.
That's quite a lot of pounds, isn't it?
Yeah.
Worth it though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're at the chunk bit. Then this is the bit. Okay. As someone who hasn't bought an Xbox One,
who lives in the blue house over the blue side of the fence.
Let's
with the
put
blue
my
grass.
Sony. I'll put the Sony pony back in the shed for a minute. Hang on, let me just put him away. I'll put the blue pony away. Go away, pony.
I won't buy a car.
Eat this triangular-shaped carrot for a while. Go.
That's a very little triangle.
While they said, you know, enhanced on Xbox One X the entire time, I still don't think, and I think this for the PS4 Pro as well, I don't feel like I've got enough reason to buy one. I don't feel like for twice the price of the Xbox One S, because it's $249 compared to $499. Like, for twice the price, I don't know what I'm getting beside looks a bit prettier. Like, I don't. And I get, 4K is going to be huge and HDR is great. And, I've got a few games that run on HDR on the PS4 now. The Witness in HDR is beautiful. Laura's been playing Final Fantasy 15. It's got a HDR mode for that as well. We've got that working on the TV. It looks really, 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 really nice. My telly can do that sort of thing. But, outside of HDR, like, the 4K resolution thing doesn't do a lot for me. Like, I think we're at a point now where graphics on most console games look pretty good. Like, I don't feel like, oh, this looks really, 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 really nice. Like, look how graphically good this is. I don't think that's as valid as it used to be, because everything should fucking look good by now. Like, it should look nice. It's, art direction issues aside, graphically things should look pretty well fidelity these days. I don't see what else there is besides it looks a bit prettier is why that's $250. I don't. For me, it wasn't quite enough. It didn't have that boom moment for me. So that's where I am with the price. I think they've done a little bit too high, and I think Sony have got tremendous opening to either chuck in some games or do that price drop we were talking about and just fucking smash that.
James?
Quick toilet run. Back in a sec.
So, James, your thoughts on the Xbox One X and the price?
The price. Yeah. Beforehand, I predicted $399.
So did I.
Because I kind of felt like if it was more than that, if I was being really harsh, I would say it's dead in the water. If I was being more reasonable, I'd say they're going to have to go some to prove to people that it's $100 better, quote unquote, than the PlayStation Pro. And as Paddy said, twice the price of an Xbox One S, which, by the way, already has a UHD Blu-ray player in it, already can do scaling for video content in that way.
To play devil's advocate and just interject a minute,
Yeah.
I thought that Michael Pachter said something quite interesting in this regard, where he said that to some people it will be like, do I get an Xbox One X or do I buy a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One S?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. If you want access to all the games, yeah.
Yeah, it's more or less like the same ballpark, which is, I hadn't heard anybody else say that, so I thought it was interesting.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
So,
or a Switch,
So that was my initial thought, depending upon my mood, whether I was wanting to be harsh or wanting to be charitable and say, hey, as long as Microsoft can show us. Now, however, having once again heard Phil Spencer say, no, we're not interested in selling you a box. We're interested in giving you a way to play games the way you want to. I don't know if I believe that therefore means he doesn't care whether he sells 10 or 10 million of these things in the first year. But I do kind of feel like I'm not doing a disservice to Microsoft by hypothetically saying, right, I'm not buying an Xbox, I'll just play all your games on PC. The guy seems genuine when he says, as long as you find a way to play the games of ours that you want to play in a way that fits with what you want, whether it's great value Xbox One S, whether it's the PC you've already got, Windows 10, or whether it's, I want the bells and whistles, I've got a 4K HDR screen and I want it to glow and purr and all these other euphemisms for it running at the tip top of what is possible, then I think, okay, $500, it's not going to be for me, but then I haven't touched my Xbox One since 6th of January until I sat down to watch the Microsoft conference. So I'm already at the point where I'm debating whether or not I need an Xbox One versus just playing the games I want to play on PC. However, and so therefore I'm not the one to judge whether or not this is good value, I guess. But I was then asked by a friend on Twitter, if I want just to be able to play 4K gaming, what's cheaper, putting together a PC or buying an Xbox One X? And it's a no-brainer. You can't put together a PC that is going to do 4K graphics like this seems to be able to. The graphics card is 400 quid plus alone, and that's without the rest of it, and that's without having to deal with running a PC, which I have a PC that I use for gaming. I think PC gaming is great. I'm not going to suggest that there's no place for PC gaming because consoles do it. If as long as they're on par, they're easier to manage. I think PC gaming is absolutely great and has a place. But if you have a 4K screen, which my friend does, that you want to be able to put the games you want to play at the best possible visual quality onto it, and you're looking at, do I buy/build a PC or do I just pay 450 quid, have an Xbox One X, I can play the vast majority of games I want to play on there, it's the cheaper way to do it. I cast around to make sure I wasn't wildly off base there. That's the way to go. So I think there is a place for someone who wants to see what their fancy TV can do, and this is the way to do it. Now, you could argue a PlayStation 4 Pro gets you most of the way there with their absolutely excellent upscaling that they've got on there, and it's $100, going to be roughly £100 cheaper. Well, it is £100 cheaper at the moment. It's £350. Sure, but you miss out on some games by not having every console and a PC. So if you're in it for the games and you want them to look as good as they can possibly look, Xbox One X is there for you, and it sounds like Microsoft are perfectly happy for you to opt out from that and pick up an S instead. So yeah, I understand why.
The point is, if you're the kind of person that has spent $1 on a beautiful television, you know, like a proper, 4K, HDR ready, giant, great telly, you know, a proper big monster. You know, we're looking at £1,000-2,000 for a beast, you know.
Yeah.
For £450 on top of £2,000, it's nothing, really, is it?
I fully expected, after the announcement of the price, I fully expected Sony, who've got deals on with the Pro at the minute for $350 with Horizon. I fully expect.
And Wipeout.
Horizon and Wipeout, yeah. I fully expected Sony to kind of go, right, machine on its own, £300 or $299.99, and I kind of wondered if there was going to be that combative sort of element in the reactive element that was there when the PS4 was first announced with the game sharing and all that kind of stuff. I wondered if they'd kind of kick in with that, and I was quite surprised that they didn't. I still think that there could be that announcement maybe towards Christmas.
I think there would have been. I think if Microsoft had bitten a $100 or further $100 loss on each unit sold and opted for $399 or $449, I think Sony would have dropped it by $50 to $100 just to have that moment of, oh, you think your machine competes with us on price? No, it doesn't. And yeah, I kind of agree. I wonder if we're not going to get to October and have Sony say, or even November, and have Sony say $100 coming off it for Black Friday deals, and that will now be our permanent price, or something along those lines.
They don't need to do it now, do they?
They don't,
because to do it now.
It's still $100 cheaper. I think if Microsoft had pushed them on it, Sony might have pushed back. I think probably, as we've said before with Sony, I think they had that slide in their presentation that they were waiting to pull out if they needed it, and I think probably their viewpoint is we don't need it. The Pro is splitting the difference between, because I mean the other thing is if they drop the price of the Pro to $300, does the PS4 Slim look good value at $250 then?
Well, you know, you push that back and you make even more of an option there at that price point. It's still a win-win for you, and in that regard, because
I think they're happy splitting the difference.
You're taking on the competition at the point where they're starting to raise a fist. But I mean, as I understand it, the Sony show had things cut from it, and I wonder if they're going to make that sort of combined with maybe that price drop towards Christmas by going into the PlayStation experience or even Gamescom and just going, this is why you buy a PlayStation 4.
That's where they do that sort of stuff, though, isn't it?
Because then
their show.
Yeah, because then you've got Microsoft having its launch and sort of a little bit of leeway. But you know, your Black Friday, Christmas purchases, you kind of you bite in straight at them. Sort of.
The only thing that makes me wonder or to think that PlayStation Experience might be too late to pull out a price drop is not just you've missed Black Friday then, not just you're a month after Xbox One X has already launched and people have already started to wonder whether or not $100 more is worth paying, but you're only 2 weeks before Christmas at that point, and that's kind of fine to get people.
To be fair, Black Friday may well have brought those kind of price drops by retailers anyway, and you could even have been selling in cheaper to retailers at that point before you make something official, in the final push for Christmas.
I'm sure we've had a console previously. Forgive me, I can't remember details, so this is entirely spurious, anecdotal nonsense. I'm sure we've had a console previously that said, we're doing a bundle or a deal for Black Friday, and from now on, that will be the new price.
That's definitely happened.
That
I can't
rings
think
so much of a bell, and that I can't be remembering it, just imagining it, rather. I could see them doing that, announce it a cheeky week before the Xbox One X comes out that you're taking $50 off the price of the Pro for Black Friday, and just give everyone that pause for thought. I mean, it's not going to change the mind of people like Tony from Kane and Rents, who he has already got the money put aside for this box. The place he plays most games and multi-format games is the Xbox One. It's a no-brainer for him because he's just bought an OLED 4K HDR screen that he wants the best possible performance out of. It's not going to change anyone's mind like that, but if you're in my case where I don't have a 4K screen, I'm sort of thinking maybe I ought to make that step. And I then think, well, I need a box to play something on it. Is it a Pro? Is it a 1X? If it was even cheaper, it would just get to the point where it was an absolute no-brainer. For me, it would end up being the Pro. And as far as, I'm going to say it again because I don't want it to sound like this is a knock against Microsoft, as far as Phil Spencer says, Microsoft are fine with that. I still have an Xbox One, I still have a PC, I still play the games of theirs I want to play. And pay Microsoft handsomely for that as well.
What I want to see is the same game on a regular Xbox One and a One X. Like, I don't feel like I've seen that. If that is out there, if Digital Foundry have done that, then
Digital Foundry will be doing that once the Xbox One X releases.
I want to see it like now.
There will be three-way Xbox One versus Pro versus One X comparisons, and they will tell you. The problem is, so Digital Foundry, or Eurogamer rather, did do an article, it might have been Digital Foundry, saying that they're not sure how many of the games Microsoft showed were actually running on Xbox One X versus a PC, versus, in Sea of Thieves' case, possibly even an Xbox One, or One S rather. So they're standing by their assessment of the console as being the most powerful console out there, but they're sort of saying we can't judge what this thing's able to do until we know what's running on it and what's and that might not be until launch. Yeah, that might not be
exactly.
Until launch.
Yeah, I kind of want that information like sooner than that. Like, I'd like to just see the comparison shots. That's
just
all.
So you
Give
know
me a
where
couple
you're
of high
at,
res screenshots. Let me have a look at it. Let me see like the difference, like the puddles in your Forza or whatever. Like, one on one screen, one on the other. Like, oh, it looks this much better. If it doesn't look any different, then we got problems. But
well, and the problem always comes there that, I mean, our TV is still 720p. If I put up, and I did watch the Microsoft conference, the Xbox conference, on my TV, it doesn't matter to me whether you're showing it in 1K, 4K, or 720p. I can't tell the difference.
Exactly.
So
super sampling, motherfucker.
Sure, yeah, that makes things look better apparently, but there's still a problem there where you can't see HDR and you can't see 4K, the same as putting, Blu-ray adverts on the front of DVDs. Well, you're not providing it in, 1080p, and I can't watch it in 1080p. So
4K YouTube videos, like, why?
Yeah. If you're not watching it on a 4K screen. Which I suppose is the other thing, as you were saying earlier. Someone spent a load of money on a 4K screen, and they have the odd Netflix, the odd Amazon, the odd YouTube thing they can watch, and maybe they've got a few UHD Blu-rays. You need a box, and games is one of the places that is providing content for 4K screens at the moment. So may as well pay the $500 for the box in that case, if you want some way of getting more stuff onto your TV. So yeah, right. I don't know where we come out in all that. I think
we come out with me putting on my green jumper, and I ask you gentlemen to get very comfortable because, like your friend Tony, I play the majority of my games on Xbox One.
You do?
I like the UI. I feel at home there. The Elite Pad is the greatest gamepad that I've ever used, and I'd rather use that for all games without using the wanting to lean into the pun. It is a game changer for me, and I genuinely adore that piece of kit, and I'm so glad that I bought it. As someone that saved for a long time for a 4K TV, did a lot of research, and then I got to the point where I went around shops and I kind of looked and I got my entry point, and then I sort of I saw the all singing, all dancing entry level, where I kind of went, that looks to be it, but that's really expensive. But it does come with a 5-year guarantee and a 10-year screen burn warranty. So kind of getting there is a long haul, but maybe it's for the best, because I've got that little bit of backup on the other side of it. And I looked at cheaper stuff and I was like, well, the more I researched, the more I looked into it, there were things it couldn't do, and I was only getting 12-month warranties and things, and it was a long time for me to get to the point where I got the TV that I wanted. And the point that I found was, even on Black Friday, things were too expensive for me at that point. People were saying, "Oh, the new tellies are coming out. Just wait a little while longer. You'll be fine, because these will come down in price." And they didn't. And the reason that they didn't is it was the entry level, all singing, all dancing. So people were still buying them. And I found that certain other models were in this range were going out of stock. Yeah. So it took me a long time and a lot of graft to get to the point where I got the TV, and I love it. From what you were saying about having the TV and having the box to play all of that on, that does factor in, but also the fact that I feel most at home on this system. I like having that through line from original Xbox through to Xbox One. I like Phil Spencer. I like, if this conference did anything, and I genuinely did love this conference to pieces. It showed me 40 odd games that I've got the option of playing on my system, and 100% people in the Xbox family can play those games, and there's a variety of visual fidelities there. But when I finally did get my telly, it was a price that was less than kind of I thought it was going to be, sort of back at that Black Friday point. I managed to finally get a good deal for it, and I traded in a few games, and I've got like a 100 and odd quid credit a game sort of sitting there. I'll save like a beast to get to November, and I'll be really excited to get my new machine and get the best out of my new TV, which is just wonderful. And I feel really, really lucky that I've got it. It took a long time to get there, and I feel every time I kind of switch it on, I still get that feeling of like, oh my god, I'm really kind of proud that I got here, and it's a really lovely thing. And I don't earn a lot of money. I don't live in splendor, but gaming is my main passion, and I love movies and stuff. So and I was looking at a few films and thinking like, I could get like the 4K Blu-ray version of that and see how nice that looks. So the excitement goes across, sort of bounces across a few little lily pads there. But for me, it's really exciting, and I know that if I trade my Xbox One in, I'll probably get 100 and odd quid towards that. So I'm already sort of 250 towards the 450. And if I can, we were talking earlier about those little nuggets like the original Wolfenstein, like Metro Redux and Shadow of Mordor, those cheap little games that I can kind of pick up on and really enjoy as I save as I go along.
And all of your current library work. You're not in the situation where you're having to offload a console and end up with no way to play it because there's no backwards compatibility or anything. So
for me, and I know that there's been a lot of discussion, and discussion's really healthy, and there's lots of pluses and minus points sort of in the great scheme of things. To me, this is like another big star on my horizon that I took a long time to save up for this TV and got it, and ended up getting it a little bit cheaper than I thought I was going to at the end. And this is another one of those things where it's like, batten down the hatches, son, kind of.
It's worth.
Yeah, because this was the top level of my indecision with regards to all of this with the TV, and there's going to be like a similar level of kind of shimmer and pride and getting this, and I don't really get consoles generally on launch day, so this is going to be sort of pretty new to me as well. So I'm kind of this glittering ball of excitement, and this it's given me a I don't know, a few extra layers of frosting within the anticipation. So I'm on the other side of that, feeling a little bit giddy. So yeah,
no, absolutely. Yeah. And there's no more testament to that than the fact that you turn the TV on and still feel wowed by it, because that that could quite easily have gone away very quickly. And the fact that it doesn't means that you want to get the most out of this TV. You want to continue being wowed every time you turn it on.
Well, I've said sort of earlier with regards to Assassin's Creed that I love to be like wowed by like Damascus or Jerusalem in the original. I completely fell in love with the scope and the architecture and the beauty of Paris and stuff. And I'm looking at alien worlds in Mass Effect Andromeda at the minute and just going, I can't believe how beautiful that looks. So there was a bit in Mass Effect Andromeda where you go underground into these vaults and it turns sort of really quite Tron-like and stuff. And the first time I went into one of those vaults with the telly, I was like, oh my god, I can see new stuff. Like this great. I know this sounds like sort of tech bollocks and stuff, and it doesn't affect the game whatsoever. But I can see like deeper into like
the blacks are blacker.
And I don't mean this to sound like sort of tech wanky, because I'm not that kind of person. But as somebody that really enjoys letting the real world fade away and losing myself in these amazing, joyous, brilliant sort of miracles that we talk about and we infuse about and we debate and stuff, that level of artistry was just I loved it. So yeah, I'm kind of, it's nice falling into this sort of stuff, and I kind of got pretty giddy at this, and it's nice to have that on the horizon as well.
Yeah. And speaking of Mass Effect Andromeda,
good lead in. So we finally saw Anthem from Bungie, and I'm going to crash straight into this. I was gobsmacked by this.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it. I'll fall in love with this world 120%. That looked great. There was kind of I liked that level of sort of knowing about it, that there was a certain degree of the sort of considered sniper player and the person that just went who landed there, Patrick, and just launched.
I'm sorry, what?
I've
never done that.
That landed in heavy armor and just decided to launch a missile into the middle of things while I kind of picked it off at distance. That was kind of our dynamic.
That's vintage, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought the world looked beautiful. I liked the monster again that was fighting other stuff, then sort of scurried towards us, and he was like, "Nah, I'll leave that for a bit."
The flying looked full Iron Man, didn't it?
Yeah, proper Iron Man.
Iron Man again.
And if they can mix that degree of RPG and the sheer fun action stuff that makes Destiny so great to catch up with people and have a good time with. That looks great, and I thought it looked really beautiful as well.
I quite like the opening bit when they was sort of chatting to the guy, like, "Hey, some of our guys are out there."
That was very BioWare. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like the way, like the facial animation looked pretty good. It wasn't quite like there was something a little bit off about them, but like the way at the end when he was kind of just doing that little sort of. When I say like a shrug, but with your mouth, you know what I mean when I say that, don't you?
There was a lot of character in there, wasn't there?
Sort of noise, that sort of like sorry, but I'm gonna smile, but with my mouth all firm and But yeah, the sort of seamless jumping or climbing into the suit looked kind of cool. The opening at the back didn't look big enough for the person, but whatever, we'll let that go. Yeah, like just flying around looked great. Like going underwater, it looked like it was its own thing. You weren't going to explode the second you touched the water, which is nice. It looked like it was quite open. I don't know how open it would be in the real, because like when they jumped off the ledge and kind of went down a very specific like pipe to go somewhere, like could you just fly over? Could you just pick a direction and go? Would it let you?
Get the impression of that. I like the mixture between sort of falling wingsuit type stuff and then bursting into the Iron Man stuff with the jets kicking in. I thought that was really neat.
Sort of jump and puzzle. Like the way you can pick different bodies for your suit. You can upgrade your suit individually.
That it wasn't a specific class that you could actually take on missions depending on kind of which suit that you wanted to go in with at that point.
I was a little bit disappointed when they were explaining it. I don't know if it was this show or later on, saying, "Oh, you can customize your character, with different guns," and then moved on. Like, I'm sure there's more. There must be more.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a little bit empty.
The gun was what they showed us in the demo. They had the character pick up a new gun, and someone else said, "Oh, I can't even remember the name of it." But
Jara's Wrath, I think it was.
Something like that. The loot pickup thing.
Clearly, they are going for loot, and they would be mad if you are in any kind of mech suit to not allow you to customize aspects of that, even if it's just shaders. But I'm betting it's not going to be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be far more advanced than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think about the completely real Bants?
I didn't particularly mind them because I saw in the stuff between Sniper and the heavy guy. I kind of that was where I looked and I went, that's me and Pad that, because it was you being your explosive, heavily armoured, running super doofus, and me being my hide round the corner, sneaky, cowardly, pick things off from distance.
Hang on, super doofus. I take a little bit of offence at that. I would argue that I was
doofus in those games. I've seen you in Saints Row with your fucking arseless chaps and your cowboy hat on and your nipple tassels and just like you do at home, really.
Look, if I want to put on some superhero gloves and some superhero
I'm not judging.
boots
I'm just
and
saying,
take everything
off there.
and jump around and shout, "I'm Nightwing," that's up to me.
I like the drop-in nature of the end of it as well, where clearly other people came online
dropped in.
Yeah, that looked neat.
Including let's be make sure we get this right. Space Warrior Sandra. Because nothing says space cool adventure robot game like Sandra.
Hey, let's cast our mind back to all of the great names that we've seen in Destiny. Like OMG a Kebab was a great one, and I will never ever forget looking around the tower and seeing Battle Milk.
Yeah,
and they were
resplendent.
They were
white
dressed
warrior
entirely in white. Well played, Battle Milk.
Battle Milk was about the best one I've ever seen.
OMG Kebab though, I did absolutely adore.
Not Again Mozart is always my is one of my favourites. It's like, how did they come by that name?
That's fantastic.
What's the story here? I want to know what this story is. So I found this video. I found this video like really, really reminiscent of those first Destiny vids.
Yeah.
Here's a big wall. You've got a space suit. You're a cool guy in the future. Your friends can pop in. You'll chat and shoot some stuff.
Gold.
Yeah, I mean it was the Destiny, the first one, like exactly the same, followed the same thing. Your heavy friend turns up.
But it actually looks like a decent rival to Destiny, which it didn't really get in the Division. And I think
it looks different.
I think that they'll both push one another on, and if Destiny, could be accused of anything, it's that it has rested on its laurels at times in the past.
But do you know what I'm worried about? My only worry with this, because it looks fun, it looks cool, is that it's BioWare, and I'm not saying BioWare is shit.
Oh, no, I would never dream of that. But I generally don't get on very well with BioWare games. I bounced off of every BioWare game I've ever tried. I get so far in, like, this is too many words, I can't be bollocksed.
I agree with you, but I'm finding myself enjoying Mass Effect Andromeda, but then again, I am the person that enjoys games that know there's legs.
You liked Assassin's Creed Unity, so your opinion cannot be trusted.
Dark Souls 2.
I mean, as far as the...
I wasn't ready for that, sorry.
As far as the BioWare and, I guess, Mass Effect aspect, the over-the-shoulder third-person camera did make the combat look a little reminiscent of my memory of Mass Effect, but it was a third-person shooter, not a third-person... abilities with guns type RPG combat that Mass Effect was.
No, visually, it did put me in mind a little bit of Lost Planet 2.
Yeah, or Titanfall 2's campaign, the opening areas, the lush green where you're sort of diving around the jungle. It had that aspect for me too. I thought it looked great, but the dialogue did kind of worry me a little bit, just from the point of view. For a while, I didn't actually know if it was just kind of cheesy in-game dialogue, bants, or whether it was much better than Ubisoft, but that style of co-op bants between players that acted out full, spontaneous stuff we've seen in, like, the Division demos. And I guess that's a good thing if I couldn't tell to a certain extent, but it didn't strike me as great dialogue, and I couldn't tell. It struck me as cheesy, kind of awkward dialogue, and I couldn't tell. And if they're going for that as a tone, the kind of, this is spectacular, but like Titanfall 2's campaign, it's a bit daft in places, we can, take the piss out of ourselves a little bit, then absolutely great. But I got the impression they wanted this to be all spectacle, and putting that dialogue over the top of it didn't seem to fit the tone. Certainly not the tone of the initial conversation that was had.
It did make me want to know more about it, and I thought it gave enough of a splash for me to be
for sure,
pretty giddy about it.
And I hope it avoids the notion that, this is where the good BioWare went and the bad BioWare were on Mass Effect Andromeda, and therefore this game gets a backlash because it only exists because BioWare cheaped out on Mass Effect Andromeda. I don't want that to be the story, because, as you've said, Mass Effect Andromeda, actually good game in there, bugs, not maybe what some people were looking for, but also... this game looks like it could, and I hope for Paddy's sake it does, step away from the stuff that we expect from a BioWare game and goes more in the direction of, like Bungie did with Destiny, let's see what we can make if we make what we want to make, if you see what I mean. New IP, all ours, all in, not beholden to whatever came before like you would be with a Mass Effect 3 or an Andromeda. Just do what we do, and yes, the HUD was turned off. We couldn't exactly see how the conversation system works. I hope they've got enough about them to say we don't need a conversation system like the Mass Effect conversation system. We can try something wacky here.
I prefer to see like a conversation system, like a dialogue or plot system that just works off of what you do, not what you say.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, so someone says, hey, go rescue those people, and if you don't do it for a bit, then the people don't get rescued.
And I say, put in an accordion button. So what were your thoughts on the Xbox conference as a whole?
Nice.
I'll
go first. I'll go first. Okay, from a games point of view, brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Like, exactly what they need to do as far as games go. Here is a shitload of games. Here is a shitload of genres. Here's some indies. Here's some AAAs. Here's some surprises. Here's some multi-platform stuff. This is why you should play it here. Like, brilliant. Game stuff. not a problem on that front. You know, they rattled through the games while they didn't spend overly long on anything, I don't think. Like, no more than 5 minutes on a game and then they moved on.
9 minutes on Sea of Thieves, but that was a proper long demo and I don't think it felt it, so...
That was fine, again, but that had the personality that it rattled through. Like, you know, nothing felt like it dragged at all. Like, it was fine. We banged through it, really good. It was like an hour and a half, nearly 2 hour show, wasn't it? It was a long show.
Yeah, they went over their usual. Yeah,
so really, really good. Showed a lot of stuff. But as far as the Xbox One X goes, I'm not convinced. And we talked about this when we talked about the price. Like, I haven't been convinced to buy one. I think the same as the PS4 Pro. I haven't been convinced to replace my PS4 yet. If this one dies, then hell yeah, I'll get the enhanced version. You know, if I had an Xbox One original right now and it died, hell yeah, I'd be looking at getting the X because, you know, why not? Being someone that has access to a lot of this stuff right now, I don't see what was there to make me upgrade. For me, like I think
what you're going to find though, pro-wise, is that the Xbox One X is going to bring out the best in the Pro because developers aren't just kind of haven't just got like a niche machine in the corner. They've got to kind of show willing and balance. And you know, when you see those PS4 Pro vids like the Prey video where there's a bit more smoke and nicer shadows in there and stuff. That's not what I want from a top end machine. That, you know, a next tier, a luxury machine that's supposed to be above what's already there. I kind of want a little bit more. There's and you know, like you look at Horizon Zero Dawn, for example. Beautiful game on PS4, the HDR, all that sort of stuff. It's a beautiful game. You see the PS4 Pro version, and it's like, motherfucker. And it doesn't take away from how beautiful the regular version is, but that extra leap is, you know, it's a skyscraper leap above it. But the attention has been poured into the PS4 Pro version. And I like the fact that if somebody has now got two top-tier platforms that they're developing for, on top of the regular ones, that those extra bells and whistles are genuinely kind of quite fruity for those people that have spent the money.
That's where the third parties will start kicking in. I think where like the first party studios, of course, are going to go for it. You know, that's part of their job to do it. But now you've got the third, you know, like your Mordors, your Resident Evils, your Final Fantasies, like they'll be the ones updating their games, and you know the ones in the middle. That's what will benefit. Because they'll do it for all of it, and that's great, you know. And again, still, when my current PS4, if it dies, you know, I'll replace it. But at the minute, just looking nicer, as nice as it looks, I don't mind the graphics on my PS4 right now. I think the current generation looks bloody lovely as it is. You know, I remain to be convinced that looking prettier is enough for me to replace my entire machine. So yeah, for me, Microsoft games. A+, really good on games. On the X1 X, not sold.
James? Don't grade it, you gibbon.
A on the games, D on the hardware.
I'll tell you what.
Doofus, super doofus.
I want to say it's 68 Amazon reviews already up for the Xbox One X.
Oh, so I bet they're great. Hey, oh, please.
You realise how long it took me to come up with 68 different names? I took ages writing all of those in. All the accounts being made up. I know. Go on.
The 7 1-star reviews
37 says.
The 7 1-star reviews from you are a bit odd, CJ, I've got to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's bananas, isn't it? Microsoft, so the presentation as a whole, the spread of games, the stuff there, hopefully to interest everyone, whatever your particular niche or whatever your particular series is, hopefully there's something there, your particular genre, hopefully there's something there that got you interested. I can't imagine someone who watched that and thought there was nothing there for them. Maybe there is, and I apologise if that's you, but to me, it seemed like they went out of their way, put 42 games into the show to make sure that they showed that Xbox and Windows 10 are the place to come if you want to play a bit of everything. The first party stuff is still where Microsoft have been weakened since Xbox 360 for me. It just feels like with the studios they closed and the game series that they let kind of go dormant, it does feel like if it's no longer my third-party platform of choice, they're going to struggle to sell me on upgrading a box, especially given I don't have a 4K screen. So, I mean, that kind of dictates everything, really. But given Phil Spencer's position, I think they did a great job of showing what the Xbox One X is for the people who are likely to be tempted to it. And for whether you're one of those or whether you play elsewhere, I think they gave a damn good showing of what's available and what's upcoming, and a nod to past games, current games, and future games. And, you know, the fact that Xbox One X is going to be there for all of those, be it your Crimson Skies or be it your Anthems.
I am dead excited. I thought that it was, as you gents were saying, I thought it was a great list of games. And whilst, you know, there was the and it will look best on Xbox One X, they also showed sort of a lot of games like the indie stuff where, you know, it didn't really matter. So they were playing to the family of consoles as it went along. I like that there were loads of indie in there. That yes, I can see the first party stuff. The issue there, we discussed that, Pat and I did in the preview, and that's something that they have to work on for the future. But I saw like 40 odd games that were coming up for a console that I love and want to love, like the new version as well. I've like loads of stuff that I'm going to be playing for the next year. I think competition's good for everybody, and I think it's a strong showing. I saw people on Twitter when this was happening who were criticizing like having this top tier in the same way as, you know, Phil Spencer said that when the Elite Pad was announced, folks were going, well, why are you launching a 120 odd quid gamepad? But he knew what was there. But a lot of the people that I saw criticizing on Twitter were people that have got like MacBooks and have got like an iPhone 7. And it's like, yes, well, if you're applying that same edict to the things that you use every day that are luxury items, that's still a telephone and that's still a computer, but it's a damn sight more expensive than that one, which will do like more or less the same thing.
90% of the same stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So
and all you do is check Twitter all day, you nerd.
but yeah, as I mentioned previously, the consoles for me within the stuff that I saved up for with the TV and kind of having the eye on it and something to kind of look forward to and stuff. I'm saving hard to get there, but this was a show that I thought showed a lot of heart. It showed a huge amount of love of games in general. Showed off some smaller stuff that I might not have seen otherwise. The bigger titles that sort of grabbed my imagination as well. And you know, you've finished sort of a few future bargains while I'm saving with the likes of sort of Metro and Ori and stuff. I love this to pieces. I thought it was a great show, and I'm kind of excited moving forward. So yeah, it made me all sprinky, bouncy smiles and trampolines. And there, I'd say, it's at nearly 4 hours long.
Twice as long as the Microsoft Shield.
Yeah.
This is only the second one.
Yeah, it is kind of the one with the most to talk about, though.
Yeah,
hands down. Yeah, hands down.
So thank you very much for listening. Thank you, James, for joining us again. It's been a really good natter. I've enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And thank you, my beautiful ginger orangutan of genius and occasional super dopers.
No.
So next, is it Bethesda after this one?
Bethesda, yeah.
Bethy boy.
We should rattle through that in about 3 hours. So thank you very much again, and we will see you all soon. Sure, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.
So we then had.
Can we then have a short break for Paddy to get himself a drink because he's going to choke?
Have you noted down the time signatures, Mr. Patrick?
I'm going to get a pen and do it now.
Mm.
I've lost my pen! Okay, I'm going to grab a drink. I will see you in a moment. I would suggest you do the same. Oh.
I had that idea about like 5 days ago with Jim Ryan.
It's just maybe there's more to that statement. Maybe there is a very specific reason why there's something that Sony see as a problem with unifying their Minecraft version with everyone else's. Maybe there is actually something. But if that's the case, say it. Don't throw out, euphemisms for parental, child responsibility and safety, etc. No, actually say it, because we don't buy that.
Rocket League as well, and the people behind that have said, well, it's really easy to do. We just need the heads up. And when they announced that PlayStation had come back and sort of said the reasons why they weren't going to do it, I looked at the top of this article and I was like, I know it's going to be Jim Ryan coming back at this. And I tie it to the lack of them putting down backwards compatibility and saying that nobody wants it. And we saw some old Gran Turismo games running at the same time as we'd shown the new one and thought, why would anyone want to play that? Leaning into the backward compatibility stuff when you've got your streaming service, your high-priced streaming service on the other side of it.
Yeah.
What you were saying about EA Access as well.
It smacks a lot of the EA Access thing, which is okay, fine. This is an opportunity for you, Sony, who have this generation looked consistently like the quote-unquote good guys, to be the good guys. So if backwards compatibility isn't something your players would use, but is it something they would like? Whether or not they use it, is it something they would like and be willing to buy games for and would be a PR win, and therefore is that actually worth whatever time it takes to develop it?
If you think about like PlayStation Plus, if you've got your regular PS4 and Vita games that will come in that month, and then by the way, Demon's Souls is now available on backwards compatibility and will be available for PS4 owners this month.
Yeah.
Boom! You've then got to trickle sort of down to like your Bloodborne and your modern day stuff, all the way running back to where things started. I like that sort of thing. I just think it's really neat.
Yeah.
Personally,
and it's compounded by the fact, if they don't want to do backwards compatibility, that's fine. Compounded by the fact that I don't know anyone who thinks PlayStation Now is good value for money.
No, but then again, they spent like how much money on buying the service in the first place? Was it Gaikai?
Yeah, that's their business, how they make money out of that, not mine.
Yeah, true.
Hello. I'm assuming it's like PlayStation Home in that actually it still does make them a reasonable sum of money, so why change it? But it's just, don't dismiss backwards compatibility and come out with some nonsense statement when there may well be another reason. Just be honest about it. Same goes for this thing.
Yes. Are you all right then, Patrick? Shall we move along?
I'm good. I have another a lovely cup of rose garden tea, and I'm ready to go.
Quick toilet run. Back in a sec. Sorry.
Okay. That's your actual comment. We're keeping that in. I did when I went to make my tea earlier. I was doing that in the kitchen, and Laura was just staring at me.
Do it again. There was a little Spanish flea who lived alone. He just left me. He sings and he dances. He jumps and he friends. He left me. Oh, the little Spanish flea.
It was a bit out of sync of mine, but I did get it. That was good. The Skype delay is a right bitch when you're trying to sing together.
I think that the version of Homer Simpson that was singing in the car whilst the riot went on was kind of a little bit out of sync anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That's all good, I believe. You want a little Spanish, please? Marge, pink lemonade. But oh my dear, it's just like regular lemonade. But Marge, it's pink. You can see the bind I'm in.
Fucking Christ.
Hey, Homer.
What time did we do? I'd say 2:58-ish. Jesus Christ.
Gonna say, don't even cut that out.
I might leave it in.
Spinach, please.
Is this the replacement for play the music?
I think it might be, yeah.
Quick, do the mouth trumpet.
That sounds rude when you put it in that context.
I think it's not rude. I think that's not an innuendo that you should be worried about.
Mm-hmm.
In your endo.
You can put this in at the end. You can cut this out and put it in after the.
I might do. Yeah, just welcome to the outtakes.
Just get straight into it. It'd be really.
We could do like... Hey, imagine if we do like the breathy indie cover.
Oh my god, I hate all of those. I hate every one of them. Was a little Spanish.
Boom, 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 boom.
Who lived alone? Teacher, like me.
Dum, 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 dum.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Bam, bam, reload. Pre-order now.
It's in the game.
E Sports. E. Oh, I did this. I had this. I was thinking this on the EA show. If we'd had more time, I probably would have gone into it. But like, EA's show was very esports, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Like, just take out the A. They've been building up the whole time. Every multiplayer game's got to be a fucking esports game these days. You can't just have multiplayer anymore. You've got to be esports.
Do you realise that if Assassin's Creed Origins was over at EA, you could have gone EA Bayek. It's in the game. And that's where we end the outtakes.